want to take the opportunity. We have a number of new members who have joined CB9. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce everyone to new board members: Ted Pilcotti, Courtenay Loisel, Matthew Fulton, Jamie Eckstein, Milford Pruitt, Erin Mazursky, Nicole Sol Creary, Letween Mavima, Teresa Westerdahl, Abina Hutchful, and Celeste Chase. And my apologies in advance if I butchered your names, but we'll have plenty of time to work together and I will get it right. But I do want to welcome you to the board. I want to thank you for stepping up and answering the call and applying, and congratulate you for becoming members of CB9. There's a lot of great work that's being done here, and we have an even brighter future, and we're happy that you've chosen it, seen it not robbery to join us as we endeavor to work for our community. Just as a couple of housekeeping items. So we are meeting virtually in accordance with revised state law, which allows us to meet virtually. Last month at our May 2022 meeting, we passed a resolution also concurring that we would be able to meet virtually for the duration of the emergency for COVID. Also, just as for housekeeping items, I want to remind everyone, this is more particularly for our attendees. If you are watching at the appropriate time, if you would like to be recognized, if you have a question, you can use the *9 function to raise and lower your hand. That's a toggle, so *9 will raise it, *9 will lower it. And when, we would ask that you use the *3 button to make sure that to unmute yourself when you're requested at the appropriate time as well. I would ask for all the board members, especially because we definitely have, a number of new members. This gives us an opportunity to kind of see each other's faces. So, if you are in a position to do so, we would ask that you keep cameras on so that way we can see each other and we can see who's speaking and get to learn each other as well. We are going to waive the reading of the rules of order. The rules of conduct are posted. They've been sent along with the minutes and all the other documentation, and they are also on our CB9 website. Very simply, we just ask that this be a place of respect where we're able to have conversations, dialogue, and understand that we will have differences of opinion on occasion. But that's okay. It's because having that dialogue is what's going to help us get to the next levels in terms of being able to advocate and work for our community. All right. And with that, we are now going to go into our next item, which is applications for the New York State Liquor Authority. Is the Chair of Public Safety with us right now? Or if not, Warren, I believe you chaired the Public Safety Committee for this month?
Yes, I did. Hold on one second.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Warren, first vice chair of the board, and Yaakov Behrman had a conflict, so I chaired the meeting. Basically, we have one license. It's a new license to vote on tonight. The restaurant is called Zed Eats and Drinks, 675 Flatbush, between Hawthorne and Winthrop. Sorry. The person who presented was Mr. Noel, who is the owner. It's a business that has been in business probably about a year or two. It's a vegan restaurant. It has a full vegan menu. In terms of the community board's interest, I think they checked all the boxes. It's a full restaurant, meaning for a vegan menu. They have recorded background music. They've been operating, they hire residents to work at the restaurant. And obviously he has experience because he's in business for the last 2 years. When asked why he wanted this license, he just said to generate more revenue. And in my mind, he's correct, because it's a tough world out there. The committee voted unanimously to recommend this license. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a representative from Zed Eats and Drinks here at this time?
Yes.
Okay, welcome. Thank you for coming to our board meeting this evening. Would like to give you an opportunity, a minute or so, just to tell us a little bit about your business, what your plans are, and just tell us about yourself.
I am in business and in the community for over 30 years. I have kids that grow in the community. I've always maintained the business there. The community was starting to change, and I see like a vegan restaurant would be a good suit in order to stay in the community and not have to move out or rent out. So this was our venture. We applied in 2018 and it was granted, but I didn't know the procedure took so long with even the situation with the COVID and also with the building departments, that by the time they gave me my letter of no objection, it had expired, what I had gotten from the community board. So I'm back again asking for the same thing that I asked for in 2018 that was granted. And we really are community-based family business. And, you know, we'd really like to get an opportunity to get a little foothold in the community that will, you know, secure us there for another period of time.
And just for the record, that was Trevor Noel. He's the owner of the business.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we will entertain a couple of questions from Mr. Noel about his establishment. We'll take 2 questions. Please use the raise hand function. Again, if you are an attendee and you wish to ask a question, use the *9 function, and we'll be able to recognize you and promote you to panelist. Okay, Dante, Mia, do any of you see any raised hands, any questions?
No.
Okay.
None.
Seeing none then, Mr. Noel, so we're going to be considering your application, the board, during our business session. This is just going to be coming after we've completed the public session. So you're absolutely welcome to stay. And at the end of the meeting, we'll make the determination and we'll let you know.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
All right. All right, so thank you very much. So with that, we are now going to go into our public comment period. The public comment period is for 30 minutes. Members of the public who wish to address the board will be given 3 minutes, to give their public commentary. Dante, is there anyone who signed up for public commentary?
No one signed up for public commentary prior to the meeting.
Okay. All right. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Again, if you wish to be recognized, if you wish to speak during the public commentary, you can use the raise hand function, *9, at which point you'll be promoted as a panelist. Okay, I see Mr. Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other raised hands?
No.
Okay. All right then. If you would please promote Mr. Friedman so he can begin his public commentary. And I have 7:17 as our start time.
All right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, I don't know why my video is not on. In any case, good evening. My name is Paul Friedman. I am the president of the Lincoln Road Block Association between Rogers Avenue and Bedford Avenue. As you know, the Department of Sanitation will soon return to the pre-pandemic schedule of 4 days a week street sweeping and alternate side of the street parking rules. I am here on behalf of my neighbors to request that our block continue with the current schedule of 2 days a week street sweeping and alternate side of the street parking rules. Several of my neighbors I expect are here tonight to support our request. I'll just mention, I can see all of the board members, but I can't see anybody else. I'm not sure if this is a different Zoom setup. You should know that I do not have a car myself, so I do not have any personal motive for pursuing this request. It's worth mentioning that I heard about this pending change from a neighbor. If not for that, I would not have known. I have not seen any communication from the Department of Sanitation. Please include in the minutes for tonight's meeting that this is the 5th meeting that I am attending to start the process of having the community board refer our request to the Department of Sanitation for their consideration. I came to the community board meeting on April 26th, where I was told to go to the Transportation Committee. I went to that meeting on May 4th, where I was told that the process would be researched and explained to me at the next meeting. At the June 1st meeting, I was told that the Environmental Protection Committee, not the Transportation Committee, would handle this process. At the Environmental Protection Committee meeting on June 14th, I was told that this issue should be handled by the Transportation Committee, but that I could bring it up myself at the next board meeting, so here I am. I received an email from Marissa Yanni, Department of Sanitation Community Affairs Liaison, in response to my email to her, asking her about this process. I forwarded Ms. Yanni's email to several members of the community board, some of who I think are here tonight. I don't know all the names, only the email addresses of some of the members to whom I wrote. I also want to say that our block participates in the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens Greenest Block in Brooklyn competition. We have won or placed in our categories several times. I only mention this so that you will know that we are diligent in maintaining the cleanliness and appearance of our block. Please forward our request to the Department of Sanitation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Friedman. Okay, are there any other members of the public who wish to speak as part of public commentary?
Arna Lipkin.
Okay. All right, please promote Arna.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
How you doing, Ms. Lipkin?
Hi, how are you, everybody? Good evening. Nice to see you all here. Just making an announcement. I've already told you that I am now a community liaison for Interborough Project Connect, which is basically enhanced services for mental health. We're located on Utica and Eastern Parkway, right near the Wright Castle. If anybody would like to know more about my program, feel free to email me at alipkind@interborough.org. Meanwhile, I just wanted to share with you that we are doing a special event on July 28th on the corner of Eastern Parkway and Utica Avenue called Shower in the City. And the purpose is to make resources available for homeless and underserved community members. We'll have the centerpiece, of course, is the Shower mobile bus, but we'll be having representatives from HRA, hopefully from CAMBA, from health, from some of the hospitals to do screenings. We're also doing some giveaways. We'll be having food. Just got today confirmation, food boxes and produce from Campaign Against Hunger. And we are trying to do a clothing drive. So it happens that the Wellness Center, Curie Gabe Foundation, is going to be housing any clothing that we get. We're trying to get new clothing, undergarments, shorts, t-shirts, flip-flops. We also need sunscreen. We do have hygiene kits. So if anyone's interested in assisting with this clothing drive, we would really, really appreciate it. Because, you know, when we bring these people to this event, they come, they take a shower, they feel great. And then to give them a whole set of new clothing really adds so much. And in addition to the services that we're providing. The goal is to really give these people some hope and show that we care. And so we're trying to get as many resources out there as possible. So I would just like to invite the community to join with us. I'll send the email, the flyer. I think you may already have it, Fred and Dante, but I think this gives all of us a great opportunity to try to reach out and help somebody that has less than us, and let's put people back on their feet a little bit. So thank you for giving me this time, and I really look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you, and have a wonderful summer ahead. Also, if I may just put in a plug, One Crown Heights is coming up again, August 21st, Brower Park. So we have a community coordinator, that's Mayan Zeke. She's handling most of it. Feel free to reach out to me at us at onecrownheights@gmail for any information on that. Thank you again. Take care.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lipkin. And definitely we'll make sure we put out the information too. So we'll send the flyers out as part of our blasts.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I see a Jennifer Chen has her hand raised. Dante, can you promote her?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for taking my my commentary. I just wanted to support the request on the part of Paul Friedman and the block Lincoln 2 between Bedford and Rogers Avenues to follow the protocol to request whatever necessary surveys DSNY requires for determining whether or not our block and potentially other blocks in the community board could also be exempted from the resumption of 4 days of alternate site parking during the week. A number of neighbors on our block and on other blocks have expressed to each other the concern that reverting to 4 days a week will be a misallocation of resources and potentially be detrimental to the environment in terms of like gas consumption and other kinds of pollution that the 4 days of the doubling of the alternate side parking will have on our block and in the neighborhood. So I don't know if the board can advise now, as it has in past meetings, what the next steps are for pursuing a study to determine whether or not, in fact, our block and other blocks require the resumption of 4 days of alternate site parking. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Very briefly, so the return to alternate side to being 4 days a week, that is something that's being implemented by City Hall, by the mayor's office. So that is coming from there. With respect to going or making any changes to alternate side, and Dante and team, please correct me if I go wrong on this, that the request would come from the community board. Typically, our process would be that it would come up through a committee. So one of the things that, and taking into account Mr. Friedman's, comments, we'll have to make sure that it's referred specifically to a committee. They'll have an opportunity to kind of gauge what the scope is. I have a feeling that it is not just Lincoln Road who is interested in a change, which is part of the reason why we would want to run it through a committee, make sure that we kind of gauge how many neighborhoods want this. Is it a district-wide thing, or if it's just simply for one block? Part of the process also is going to call for an analysis of the scorecards, which are given for all the different blocks. So we'll have to compile that information, make sure that's available, and that'll have to be compiled. I believe there's a minimum score that we're supposed to have on a block before they can apply. And then the last piece of that also the last two pieces would be, one, a public hearing conducted by CB9 on the topic, and then lastly, a vote by CB9. So there are a couple of steps that will have to happen, so that's something that we would end up coordinating in terms of what the next steps are and get the timing down with that. But thank you for letting us know that. So this is something that we should actually be getting started. Unfortunately, because of the timing of the year, this is the last one for this year, but we can definitely make sure that this is a topic that is taken up by whatever committee gets assigned it for next year.
Okay, so if I may, so we're waiting for your community board, this community board to form a committee, because I know Paul has spoken on behalf of our block numerous times. As he mentioned, this is the 5th meeting he's attended to appeal to the community board to take the necessary steps.
Right. So one of them, well, part of it would be for the committee to take it over, only because there's some additional steps that have to happen. Again, the analysis of the scorecard. The committee will generally give us a recommendation in terms of what's the scope of this. Are we looking at 1 block, 2 blocks, or are we looking district wide? So that's the work that's going to end up being, when we refer that to the committee, that's what will end up happening. Again, unfortunately, we're at the end of the year, so that'll be something that'll be taken up as one of the first items when we reconvene in September.
So you haven't yet formed a committee?
No, we're at the end of our year. This is the last meeting for this year, so we're on hiatus for 2 months, and then we reconvene again in September. In that time, we also reform all the committees. The chairs are assigned, and committee assignments are also made as well.
Okay, because I thought Paul that had approached the community board in April or May about this, so this isn't the first time that he's brought it to the community board's attention.
No, understood. And what I'm saying is, in order for us to act, now we have to make sure. I'm not sure. It looks like there was some confusion around who has it, but that will be worked out in terms of who's going to run the process going forward for this. But that'll be one of the action items we'll take up.
Okay, so on the agenda in September, you'll be assigning the committee, and the committee will start work in September?
The committee will start work, but we'll be assigning the committees over the summer.
Okay, great. We look forward to updates. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Mr. Freeman, I apologize, but we only see one public comment for each of the periods, so we're not going to be able to address you at this time. Are there any other comments for public commentary? Anybody, anyone else?
Primo has his hand raised.
Sure. Okay. Absolutely. Go ahead, Primo.
Hi. Good to see everyone, and welcome to the new board members. I think that I speak both as a member of this board and as a member of this community and somebody who's been on the community board for 2 years. I think it's my first time meeting many of the members of the new board. Again, welcome. I think it's worth noting, and a conversation that we should probably have, that there's been a significant demographic shift on this board since the last board to the current board. I think when I joined this board, I think if we can, be explicit, there were members of this community board that represented parts of this community. We had lots of Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean, Black people on this board. We had lots of members of the Orthodox Jewish community on this board. I know that there are some ruffled feathers from both of those communities to some of the appointments that have come this year, as well as some of the folks that we have lost over the course of the last board cycle. I think we should encourage a conversation about what it looks like to not only gentrify this community, but also to gentrify this community board. And if we don't engage in that conversation, then we are falling short on, I think, a lot of the things that this community board is supposed to represent, and also conversations that are being had around this community board. So I just really want to open up that topic of conversation, encourage us to engage with it rather than to shy away from it. And also to have a conversation about how we can elevate the voices of people who are typically excluded from these conversations and excluded from positions of power inside of the community. So I just hope that we can start that dialogue, we can carry that dialogue, and we can recognize that the dialogue is important to this community board and to members of this community. So I look forward to talking about it. I'm certainly not one to shy away from conversations. And again, welcome to all the new community board members. You are valued, you are here, you are present, and I hope that we can have this conversation. If you want to have it with me, I'm happy to have it. But let's continue to talk.
Thank you very much, Primo. Okay, are there any other members of the public? Hold on, I see, is that a board member? Okay, that's you, Primo, all right. All right, are there any other members of the public who wish to participate in public commentary? If you would like to speak, please use the *9 function to raise your hand, and we will promote you to panelist. Okay, we call for a second time. Anyone else? Public commentary? wish to speak, please use star 9. Star 9 will raise your hand and we'll be able to promote you.
Board member Kyrie Elaney has raised his hand.
Oh,
Okay.
good evening, everyone. I just was only raising my hand, and thank you, Dante, is because I saw that Christian had his hand up, and that's who I was going to defer it over to speak. So thank you.
Oh, Christian, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thanks so much, Kyrie. I'm sorry, I'm not able to raise my hand using the Zoom function, but I just want to go back to the question of parking. So the guidance that we got, and I believe this came from DOT, is that the community board or its relevant committee should have completed the steps that we just discussed. So I want to flag that for consideration. I think that our community board has done a lot of great work through the committees, but according to the guidance we got, I believe from DOT, it doesn't necessarily have to go through a committee before it comes up to a vote. It could go through the community board. So I'm just sharing that for consideration. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. All right. All right, actually, I got hit. I think, is Michael Cox on the line? Is he on the line?
Yes.
Okay, I think he wanted to be recognized for public commentary.
Okay.
But I think he might be having an issue. Is it possible to promote him?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. He should be. Okay, there we go.
Hello. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Are we good to go? Should I jump in?
You have the floor.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. As many of you know, hopefully all of you know, tomorrow is election day. Wanted to come quickly to introduce myself. I've had the good fortune of knowing several of you for a few years, and I look forward to meeting more of you. I'm running for district leader. For those who don't know that role, it's a part-time unpaid volunteer position. Reason I'm running for it probably best be summed up in a quick vignette. When I was 5, my dad, dropped me, my mom, and my sister off, took us upstairs, went back downstairs to park. We all know parking is bad. It's been bad for 30 years. When he got down there, him and somebody else kind of converged on the parking space, got out the car, got into a little argument, but it was relatively civil. The police drove by. The woman who he got into an argument with was a short white woman. My dad is a 6'4" black guy. Within a short period of time, they asked him if he had ID. He had actually left it upstairs. They didn't want to come with him. He identified himself actually as a law enforcement officer. Didn't matter to them. They arrested him on the spot for felony assault or attempted murder. It got dropped to a few different things, but he still ended up, long story short, getting a misdemeanor that caused him to lose his job. Over the next several, really decade and a half, I saw him struggle with depression and what I now know as addiction. And when I look back on it, there were times when the system could have worked for him, and it didn't. And the judges could have worked to look at a more reasonable application of the law, and they did not. And, in doing my research, I found that the judges were appointed by the district leaders. And this particular judge was appointed by the party boss district leaders. And I thought about, especially as the conversation we've had over the past few years, so many people in our community have been impacted by judges that shouldn't be on the bench. The district leader role, obviously looks at, helps to select the judges that are put on the ballot, but also as a general community advocate. And as we know, there's a lot of advocacy needed for our neighborhood. And so as I think about my role, the role that I'm seeking, the work that I've done as a teacher, a congressional staffer with the Congressional Black Caucus, a staffer with the Obama administration, the Economic Development Department of the Obama team, then back home with the mayor of New York, this is the kind of service that I think I could do for the community that I was born and raised in. I think I could do well. And so wanted to introduce myself. Hopefully I could direct you to my website, MikeOxfordBK.com. And I'd love to get your vote, share your vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cox, for joining us this evening.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike, you may not remember me, but we did the SSLD fellowship at NYU, both of us. And I can just say this is a good dude who's done a lot of good work.
Appreciate that, Primo. I do.
And very importantly, he supported our community fair. I saw him there.
Right. This is Felice. Is it okay that I cut in to say that I met Mr. Michael Cox and I introduced myself as Felice Robinson and stated that I sit on the committee of like a screening committee that we have here, where we would listen to candidates and see which candidate 16,000 people we would ask to vote for. When you decided to do this? This is all of a sudden, or, you know, because you did give me information and I shared mine as well, so that, you know, we can hear you. I'm just asking a question. Is this okay to ask at this time?
Not particularly, only because it's the public commentary. We try not to go to the, you know, to that, but especially as he's a candidate, I don't want to necessarily, you know, give more than what he's allowed in terms of public commentary.
Okay, pardon me.
No, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. Okay, I see Ms. Chase, Celeste Chase.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to raise an issue as a member of the public regarding a development issue. And so I walked past 54 Crown Street over the weekend, and there are drawings out there as to what the project is supposed to be. And so I looked at the drawings, and the drawings showed maybe a 5 to 8 story building, maybe 7 stories. And then I read the permits, and the permits mentioned a 17-story building. I went into the DOB website, and the permits seemed to be for maybe 8-story building or something similar to that, but much less than 17-story. And so the issue or concern that I have is that the development has been a big issue in the community for quite a long time. And so I believe when people walk past sites that they should be apprised of what is the actual situation at the building. And so that the permits should be up to date for one thing, and those are not because they were expired. But importantly, the rendering of what the building is supposed to look like should be representative of what is being planned for the building. And so based on the information that I've read, based on the pictorial, based on the differences or disparity in the different permits, as a member of the community, I can't tell whether or not there's going to be a 17-story building there or a 7-story building, whether the permits are up to date at this point. But I think more importantly, beyond the permits being up to date, that there be an accurate representation of what's coming. And because so often in the community, whether it's new shelters, and they've been pretty good from what I can see in the neighborhood recently, we don't know until all of a sudden the building is up and they're in operation. But I think that, you know, posting the permits, the pictorial should be fair representations. And so as a community member, I'm wondering what it is, if anything, the board can do to ensure, and you're not going to know it every time, but when it's addressed and when someone brings it to your attention, to get the builder, get the Department of Buildings to actually make sure that the information that the builder is putting out is accurate information, and it's not something that, you know, is different than what's really going on at the building. So that's the issue that I wanted to bring to your attention. And I understand that you're not going to go to every site and look at every permit, but to the extent that a member of the public does see it and brings it to the attention of the community board, how can we address that issue to make sure that the community gets really accurate information and walking past the development site to understand what's planned for the community?
Okay, let me just take a quick stab, and Dante, just clean it up for me, if you can. So with regards to that particular, that's something that's actually a known for us. That same exact question you had about what the zoning is, which zoning is correct. From what I understand, the lower zoning is what it is right now. I believe it's the R6. There were some questions because I believe that was the subject of a ULURP, which I believe was reversed. So there's inconsistent signage that we know of. If it's still there, Dante, I would ask if you and the district team could just, office team could just check into that to make sure the correct signage is in. But to your point, let me just thank you first of all, because very often we don't know what we don't know. So we really depend on the community members, the residents, to let us know. So that way we can look into it to make sure that people are doing the right thing, the way they're supposed to do it as well. But if there's anything I missed, or if there's any clarifications, or Dante, at the very least, if you and the team can just double check to make sure what they're doing, confirm the zoning, and to the points that Ms. Chase made about, okay, the signage should be more accurate and reflect what's really actually happening on that site. Dante, is there anything we need to add, or?
I would say that the Department of Buildings likely has a significant backlog, because you are exactly correct. What you see on the DOB website is not reflective of what you see at the actual site. And so clearly DOB is behind on putting this information up on their website. So that's a much deeper conversation that's going to have to be had. If a person sees a development and then they go online and then the information is not the same thing that's posted, that's a problem, and that leads to misinformation, and that's not what we want to disseminate. So that's a larger conversation, and I would be happy to work with you and to obviously work with the Department of Buildings to figure out how we can address it.
Well, that's helpful, but for clarification, I think the Department of Buildings website is probably correct. I think the rendition is probably correct. If it's supposed to be 7 stories, it's just what the actual permit that's there mentions 17 stories. So I think it's something that's going on with the builder that may be a little bit different than what's on the DOB website. But maybe you know better than I do, but we can have maybe a more fulsome conversation.
It's a conversation. Yes. It's a conversation that needs to be had, Celeste.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I see we are at about the end of public commentary again, and I thank everyone who's come and addressed the board. So hopefully we were able to answer some of the questions. But absolutely, I encourage you to please continue to reach out to the board, continue to reach out to the district office if there are any issues. If you see things that are questionable in the district, in the community, to please let us know. So sometimes we don't always have the answers right here, but we are committed to working towards getting answers and getting resolution wherever possible. So we will be continuing with that. Okay, so public commentary is done. We will now go to acknowledgements. So for our acknowledgments, elected officials, we allow for 2 minutes if they are here with us. If you are a representative of an elected official or an agency, we ask that you bid greetings and give a minute. About a minute for hi to bid greetings. On behalf of the representative of your official. At this time, Dante, Mia, who do we have?
I do see a representative from the Congresswoman's office.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Mr. Simon?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Actually, the member is supposed to go and get onto this call. She's probably, I don't know if she's having, I'm going to try to reach out to her, but she was supposed to be scheduled to speak a couple of moments with the board. So I'm going to try to see if I can contact her right now. So excuse me for that.
No, not a problem at all. So Dante, if you do see her, please promote her and bring her in so she can, give comments to the board. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Slavin. Who else do we have? Okay. If you are a representative of an elected official, if you're in the participants, please use the *9 function so that we can identify you and promote you in.
I do not believe that there are any other representatives.
Okay. All right, very well. Dante, just do us a favor. So do look out for the Congresswoman. So as we're in the agenda, if she is able to attend, we'll adjust the agenda and we'll allow her time to speak as part of as part of the acknowledgments. Okay. All right. So we are now going to move on into the business session. Madam Secretary.
Here I am, sir.
Okay. The floor is yours. Please call the roll.
Kyrie Ali.
Here. Thank you. Hey, Linda.
You're welcome. Nicholas Amanar.
Present.
Stuart Balberg. Fred Baptiste.
Present.
Naomi Baptiste. John Beckles Jr. Rabbi Berman. Warren Burke.
Here.
Augustine Blackwell, excuse, please. Celeste Chase.
Present.
Thank you. Suki Chung. Sol Cleary, Greek. Sol.
Present. I'm present.
Gotcha. Jamie Esteen.
Present.
Thank you. Jamie Matthew Fulton.
Present.
Tessa Hackett Vieira.
I believe I see her in the participants. Dante, can you promote her?
So, yeah, I thought.
All right. And Dante, I do see. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second, Linda.
Oh, I see.
I do see a hand raised in the.
Present.
Thank you.
A hand raised in the participants.
Yeah, I've got you. I've got you. I got you, Jacob. I got you. Bishop Sylvester Hamilton Gonzalez.
Here.
Abina Hatchful. Primo Lazana.
Yeah, present.
Maya Lagote.
Mina present.
Francesco Leopold. Michael Leiberg. Matthias Limberger. Courtney Losell. Courtney. Christian LeBeau. Got you. Christian LeBeau.
Present. Thank you.
Letterman Mavina. Letterman. Erin
Mazursky, present.
Thank you. Vivian Morgan, sorry. Vivian Morgan. Patricia Moses. Pat Moses. Beverly Newsom. Beverly Newsom.
Present.
Thank you. Yankee Pearson. Yankee Pearson. Okay. Ryan Paris Booms. Real Praise Booms. Ted Pilcati. Ted Pilcati. Milford Pewick. Milford Pewick. Junetta Romferry.
Present.
Dexter Roberts.
Present, Miss Water. Good night.
Felice Robertson. Felice?
Present.
Got you.
Yes, present.
Right. Rashida Sadiq.
Here.
Rashida Skies. Rashida Skies. Okay. Debbie Timothy. Yours truly present. Miss Teresa, Miss Vester Dawn.
Present.
Got you. Lorianne Wolseley. Lorianne. Cheryl Wright. Cheryl.
Present.
Thank you. 1 minute. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Chair, I've got 24 members present at this time.
24 members, that's a quorum. If I could ask, Madam Secretary, could you just call the names of those you did not get a response for, just to confirm?
I will. Stuart Balberg. Naomi Baptiste. John Beckles Jr. Suki Chow. Abina Hatchfield. Francisco Leopold. Michael Leiberg. Tess Lindbergo. Letrin Mavina. Vivian Morgan. Mrs. Mike Moses, Pat Moses. Yankee Pearson. Raul Prayers Booms. Ted Pilcati. Rashida Skites. Debbie Timothy. And Lorianne Wosley. And I have checked the membership so far, and I have not missed any of those. I have not seen any of those online.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, there was an attendee who had their hand raised. I think you mentioned to see, okay.
Can you confirm who that attendee is?
Number ending in 7185.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Stuart Balberg, present.
Thank you, Mr. Balberg. I changed my number, Mr. Chair, to 25 present. So we do have a quorum? Oh, okay, he's on the phone.
My apologies for that, just taking care of some items here. Okay, but thank you very much. We have a quorum. Before we continue, though, I did want to go back in the agenda. I believe we have Congresswoman Yvette Clarke with us on the line. Congresswoman Clarke, are you there?
I am Chairman Baptiste. Thank you for giving me this moment. I know you are moving out of order of your protocol. My schedule has been a beast today, but I did want to stop in and say greetings to everyone, to Chairman Baptiste and the executive board and board members of Community Board 9. It's great to be with you at the beginning of the summer and the beginning of your recess, just to share with you a few thoughts. I want to commend you on looking after the welfare of the people of the Community Board 9 catchment area, and by extension, the people of the 9th District of New York. Chairman Baptiste, thank you so much for your leadership and your gracious invitation to join the Community Board to discuss some of the socioeconomic issues that are impacting our community. Please allow me to also thank the entire executive committee of the board, Warren Burke, Francisca Leopold, Dexter Roberts, Nicholas Almanor, and Linda Watson-Lord. You two are doing everything in your capacity as executive members to improve our community, and it doesn't go unnoticed and unappreciated. As everyone knows, I'm your local Congresswoman, Yvette D. Clarke, and I proudly represent you in New York's 9th Congressional District, which is in Central and South Brooklyn. And it's not lost on me that our economy is facing major challenges. And as a result of that, so are our constituents, so are our neighbors and our friends and our relatives. Food and gas prices are steadily increasing, causing, let me add rent prices increasing, causing already struggling families in our district very tremendous stress. Last week, my Democratic colleagues and I pushed to make a difference for working families in our community. And we passed, and President Biden signed into law, the bipartisan Ocean Shipping Reform Act. And now you ask, well, what is that? Well, what it does is it cracks down on exorbitant and unfair shipping fees charged by international shipping companies, which have increased the cost for consumers when we go into our grocery stores, for small businesses that are waiting for key supplies, and for American farmers who are selling food to the world. Shipping is a major part of what adds cost to our goods that arrive on our shores and that we purchase in our grocery stores. And it cannot be lost on us that, Russia continues to wage a very cruel war against Ukraine. Just today, we saw Kiev attacked, Putin is going after civilian targets, and they're reporting that a shopping mall was hit today with over 1,000 people there. So between the war in Ukraine and all of the major global producers, we are seeing a major impact globally, and the U.S. is not immune to that. We also passed another bill to lower food and fuel costs. It's called the Lower the Food and Fuel Costs Act, which reduces our dependence on foreign fertilizer production and includes bipartisan bills to help American farmers use their fertilizer more efficiently. We're struggling at every turn, and our farms are not immune either. And let's not forget that unfair anti-competitive practices by major meatpacking conglomerates and who dominate the market are also driving up the price of meat and poultry in our supermarkets and hurting ranchers at the same time. So the Lower Food and Fuel Costs Act will strengthen competition in the meat and poultry sector and alleviates the supply chain bottlenecks that are letting meatpacking conglomerates set bad prices for producers and consumers alike. Another aspect that has been hurting our economy and driving up inflation has been, of course, our overdependence on foreign oil. Homegrown American ethanol grown by American farmers is one of the most powerful tools to fight the Putin price hikes on American families right now, and next-gen biofuels infrastructure can make it even cleaner and more efficient to produce. Unleaded gasoline is typically a cleaner, cheaper fuel option that costs an average of approximately 40 cents less per gallon and emits less carbon pollution and burns cleaner than regular gas. So those are key elements of what is really what we're facing each and every day. You know, we pull up into our gas stations, we go to our supermarkets, we see the supply chain bottlenecks in real time. And we are working, you know, real hard in Washington with not a whole lot of bipartisan help, let me say, to try to alleviate this for the American people. Another issue that has not fallen on deaf ears that we're really struggling with and that I am leading to address is the lack of affordable housing that it has been at a crisis level in New York City, but since the moratoriums and everything else have been lifted, continues to skyrocket. Not only here in New York City, but across the nation. Thankfully, though, the bipartisan infrastructure bill calls for updates to existing public housing units, and specifically more than 500,000 homes that should be built and renovated in areas that require housing for working class individuals in our communities, including right here in Brooklyn. It also calls for more than 2 million affordable homes and commercial buildings to be built and renovated over the next decade. That doesn't help with our immediate crisis, but I have been on a personal mission with it, and it's been a deep passion of mine to make affordable housing a reality for the people of the 9th District. So I'm proud to say that we've made great progress, and thanks to productive and comprehensive partnership with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, the affordable housing legislation, my American Affordable Housing Act of 2022 has been put into effect. It's has been moving throughout the Congress, not put into effect. My Area Median Income Fairness Act will help change the equation that keep our communities safely in their homes and won't bankrupt them. The Affordable Housing and Area Median Income Fairness Act is a multi-pronged approach to address some of the core challenges that have led to a severe lack of affordable housing in our nation's urban areas, and quite frankly, not so urban. We're finding out from colleagues about just how pervasive area median income has become as a tool for building luxury housing. We've seen it in real time here in New York, but it's happening across the nation. So let me briefly just break down this important legislation. It allows jurisdictions to decide whether or not to apply HUD's high housing cost adjustment. It directs HUD, the Urban Housing and Urban Development Agency, to assess alternative methods of calculating AMI that could help to lower rents and income limits in qualifying units, such as by performing AMI calculations at a more localized level. For example, residents living in Community Board 9, covering the communities of South Crown Heights, Prospect Lefferts, Wingate, and portions of Northern Flatbush will not be lumped in with folks living in Westchester County. And we know that we shouldn't be grouped together when you talk about sort of local annual median incomes. So to calculate the area median income, we would determine how much our units should cost us, rent and housing costs, based on a sort of a community board member model, if you will. This change will make a significant difference in the rules governing affordability. And so we're pushing for that bill, myself on the House side and Senator Gillibrand on the Senate side. This bill also requires HUD Secretary to submit a report of findings and recommendations to Congress on ways in which both Congress and the administration could act to make housing more affordable for income, moderate, and middle income families throughout communities across our nation. The Affordable Housing AMI bill provides urgent support for affordable housing infrastructure in our nation's most populated areas like New York City by authorizing $5 billion for each fiscal year from 2023 through 2032 to the Housing Trust Fund, Community Development Block Grants, and Home Improvement Partnership Programs. So this is truly a monumental step forward that what we believe will put a major dent in New York City's housing crisis. And I'm tremendously grateful and proud of the work that went into making that introduction of this legislation possible. As a proud New Yorker, I am deeply troubled by the uptick in crime and the epidemic of gun violence that has plagued our communities. And I cannot overstate how detrimental the recent Supreme Court ruling that struck down our common sense New York State gun permitting laws puts innocent lives at risk. And what's more, there are no gun manufacturers in New York City, and yet despite removing thousands of guns from our streets, new guns are arriving by car, train, bus, each and every day along what we call the Iron Corridor, the Iron Pipeline Corridor. This is why last week's vote on the Safer Communities Act is of the utmost importance as it addresses the issue of gun trafficking, which has been a major issue for us, finally making it a federal offense with a huge federal penalty, as well as for straw purchasers. This was the type of legislation we needed in the city of New York. And I recognize, you know, it's not everything that we would have wanted. Certainly with the advent of ghost guns and the mass killings we've seen with young people being able to access military grade automatic weapons, we want to go further. We want to get rid of these semi-automatic weapons, particularly in the hands of young people, but quite frankly, they shouldn't even be a part of what we're doing for, what we're selling for even, you know, everyday Americans. Those are weapons of war. They should not be in the hands of everyday Americans. We've reached an impasse with the gun violence in New York City and all across this nation, and we must widen our aperture on the number of different practices that will help mitigate the damage of gun violence, especially among our young people. And last week's bill put a whole host of funding, billions of dollars, into cure violence programs, which we know have been working, and it's critical to divert young people who may be going down the wrong path into meaningful activities to squelch the types of acrimony that create opportunities for gun violence. So I'm really excited that we've made, while this is a small and incremental step, it's a substantive step. We're constantly living under the threat of gun violence. It's an epidemic that does not discriminate, and it tragically have reached NYPD officers, our young people, and now even little children. Know that I will continue to push for action to end this scourge of gun violence. So folks, our infrastructure needs improvement. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act makes historic investments in our roads, bridges, public transit, water infrastructure, and zero emission vehicles, airports, environmental cleanup, and electric power infrastructure. New York State alone is set to receive over $11 billion for highway repairs and upgrades. These investments will revitalize our transportation infrastructure, make public transit more efficient and more equitable, provide for safe and clean drinking water, enable the transition to electric vehicles and renewable energy, clean up heavily polluted areas, and create millions of jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities to support the creation of a resilient infrastructure that will protect our communities as we continue to face the worsening climate crisis. So these are some of the key wins that I've secured for our district. $500 million for a smart transportation grant program to provide funding for local transportation projects, Smart Community Resource Center to serve as a major online resource for cities like ours, and safe school drinking water infrastructure, funding our public schools to address lead contamination in their water fountains. We've done a whole heck of a lot of work, not to mention we're focused on making sure that we hold accountable those who were responsible for the insurrection and the subversion of our democracy, our democratic process. Many of you may be watching and monitoring the January 6th hearings. This is very important. We came way too close to seeing our nation really sink into anarchy. And that's what happens when you disrupt the democratic process. And it's our hope to hold everyone accountable for those who lost their lives during the insurrection and the damage that it has done. And it's important to unpack it because we can never allow that to happen again. We are a beacon of hope around the world for what people governing themselves can really mean. And, for over 200 years, we've had a peaceful transition of power in the United States. And to see it come to that type of violent insurrection in our time, we cannot allow for that to happen again. So I just wanted to share, I know it's a lot, a lot is going on in Washington, D.C. What do we say about a Supreme Court that doesn't value women? What do we say about a Supreme Court that doesn't value human life in terms of what is taking place with gun violence and making sure that we're secure and these conceal and carry laws that have been allowed through New York City to now proliferate across this nation. We've got a lot of work to do, folks. I'm doing my part, being your voice in Washington, D.C., doing what I believe is most humane and centers our humanity at the heart of all of the legislation that we're passing. But it's a democracy, which means that everyone must be engaged. And so we're wrapping up elections on Tuesday. I hope everyone is going out to vote. And as influencers in our community, you're influencing as many people as possible to go out to vote. There will be additional elections in August. You'll be out on recess, but the US Congress and the state Senate will be holding primary elections in the month of August. So if people plan on going away on vacation, I hope that you'll remember to do an absentee ballot and encourage those who may vacation during that time to do their absentee ballots. And then again, the general election in November, it's critical that we exercise this portion of our democratic duty because I can tell you that things are going pretty sideways right now with what I consider to be minority rule. So I hope that you will use your influence to educate, inform, and engage our community to understand the power in their franchise and encourage them to use it. With that, Mr. Chairman, as we say in Washington, D.C., I yield back. And I thank you for giving me this moment just to sort of share with you. It's a lot to unpack. There's a lot going on. And I know I'm probably missed a whole host of activity that's taking place in Washington, but I'll be here for a moment if there are any questions that you, Mr. Chairman, or the members of the board have of me. I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity and wish everyone a very healthy and safe summer. I know this is your last meeting for this portion of the year before you go on hiatus. And I did want you to know that out of sight is not out of mind. You guys send me to Washington, D.C. to be your voice. And I'm just glad I had the opportunity to check in and connect with you this evening.
Congresswoman Clark, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you so much for sharing all the work and you know, letting us know the fights that are being fought in Washington, and continue to fight them. We're looking for you, and we have your back here in Brooklyn. We have your back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks so much. Okay. All right. So we are going to return to order. We are now going to go to, well, actually, before we continue with the agenda, the one item I do have is I wish to, we need to amend our agenda so that way we can get a couple of things, get a little bit, so just for efficiency purposes. So before we continue, I would like for us to amend tonight's agenda, where item 7A, which is currently the bylaws amendment vote, we're going to move that. That will become the next item, and we will vote on that. And then item 7B, which is the election of the officers, will become part of the nominations committee report, or will follow immediately after that. The rationale for that is 7A allows us to kind of just move forward. We'll be able to distribute the ballots with respect to all the candidates after the speeches have been done. And then we'll be able to tally those up. Any members who are having any issues, the district office team will be able to help and assist them with, and making sure we can get their votes, and we'll be able to proceed with the agenda. So at this time, I will take a motion. I will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to move item 7A to the second item, and 7B will come immediately after the nomination committee report. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have it moved by Dexter Roberts. I have a second by Nicholas Almanor. All right, are there any questions? Okay, hearing none. Do I hear common consent? Are there any objections? Hearing none, common consent, the agenda is adopted as amended. Thank you very much for that. Okay, we are going to now go to item 2 on the, well, the new item 2, which is the bylaw amendment vote. Per our bylaws, an amendment proposal was forwarded to all of the board members. The amendment specifically is for, excuse me one second, try to get my paperwork. The amendment is for, it reads as follows. Electronic balloting is authorized for use as a voting method for the general officer elections to be conducted at the June 2022 general board meeting. The individual votes of all board members will be recorded and maintained in the district office upon the conclusion of the election. This amendment will be effective immediately upon adoption of the board. All right. Are there any questions with regards to the proposed amendment? Please use the raise hand function and we'll take your questions. Okay, for all board members, are there any questions with respect to the amendment that was forwarded? Okay, and actually I'm a little bit out of order as well. Well, actually, it was moved and seconded. No, actually, we moved and seconded to do the change the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the amendment as stated?
So moved.
I make a motion. Felice Robertson make a motion.
Okay, I have it moved by Felice Robertson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Yunella Rome Perry. All right, let's go back again. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none. Do we have common consent? Are there any objections to common consent? If you have any objections, please state your name for the record. Okay, hearing none. Madam Secretary, please put a vote in favor for all board members present.
So noted, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we are now going to go next to the...
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Before you go, I noticed that some persons who were on when we started had dropped off, has now come back on. You don't mind if I call the names to put the now as present?
Absolutely. Go ahead. And as a matter of fact, please add Yakov Pearson. He is currently attending. He's on in the participant.
Yeah, I already got him.
Okay, great.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
new board member of CB9, and I didn't go to my first meeting until Monday, the Robert Rules of Orders lecture. And so this caught me by surprise, and I had no way of knowing that this was going on. So this is, even though I'm inexperienced and haven't been assigned a committee, it's okay for me to be present here?
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
How would I have known that this meeting existed? A neighbor called me to tell me that you guys called my name twice, but I saw nothing in my email or text that I had been assigned a panel or committee, or that this meeting was for me. So, but it's okay for me to participate in this forum.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're a member of. You've been appointed as a member of CB9, so absolutely you can participate in this section, in the business section. After when we're offline, let's check with the district office just to make sure we have your correct contact information. But we'll make sure that you're getting communications from now on.
All right. All right.
Excuse me, Fred, it's Warren.
Yes.
With relation to that statement, first of all, we apologize. The borough office who appoints the committee members has been very late. So I understand you're being perplexed. We will be having an orientation for you in the next, I would say, 2 weeks. So I was thrown into the same situation where I was put on the board and I knew nothing. And then boom, it's June. So I feel for you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Suki Chow? Suki, I saw you.
Here.
Right, thank you. Langberg? Mr. Langberger?
Here.
Thank you. Yankee Pearson, I've got you. Okay, so now, Mr. Chair, our numbers, it's now 29 board members.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we are now going to go on to the next item, which is the approval of the May 2022 minutes. The minutes have been distributed to the board as part of the package. Are there any corrections to be made to the minutes? Okay, call for a second time. Are there any corrections to be made to the May 2022 minutes? Okay, call for a final time. Any corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing no objections. Do we have common consent to adopt the minutes? Are there any objections? Okay, hearing none, the minutes are adopted by common consent. Madam Secretary, please put a note that all members voted in favor unanimously.
So noticed, sir.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, committee reports. The committee reports have been forwarded as part of the package, as part of the information prior to the meeting. For any of the chairs, do you have any urgent items or any updates that you need to make known? Please keep any comments to 1 minute or less. Otherwise, your written report stands. Are there any other committee chairs that have updates to make to the board? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go to the nomination committee. At this time, I will call up the nominations committee chair, Mr. Kyrie Aline.
Hey, Fred, how are you?
Doing well. How you doing, sir?
So good night, everyone.
Good night.
Hey, Linda. So tonight we are going to review all candidates who have expressed interest in becoming a part of the executive committee for our CB9 community board. So, and at this moment we would allow, I would like to open up the floor for anyone to share more about themselves. So we first have Fred Baptiste, our current chair person, that's the person running for again. So would you like to say a few words, Fred?
Sure. I'll try and keep it very brief. You know, in terms of preparing for this, one of the things I wanted to do is just look back on what we've been through together over the last 3 years. In 2019, in a newspaper article, it said at the May CB9 meeting, multiple members of the board walked out, killing the quorum and leaving the board without enough people to vote. That was May of 2019. When I got, and people walking out and leaving, that is not something that happened just then. It happened 4 times that year where people just walked out of meetings because they were that tired. When I was elected in July of 2019 in a special meeting, there was a newspaper article that said, Fred Baptiste hopes to rein in dysfunctional Crown Heights Community Board. Yes, it was that bad. It was that bad. So what has changed, and I'm very proud of this, is the fact that I think it wasn't Fred Baptiste reined in a community board, it's that a community board came together. And as a part of us coming together, we start working more as a team. We share leadership. We espouse transparency as a principle of this board, accountability. We engage partners now, so we're definitely more in contact with our elected officials and working together. I think we're more deliberate and thoughtful in terms of how we do things. We're leveraging technology and we're learning lessons as we go. And this is all credit to this team, this board, this community. So I humbly put my name forward to be reelected as chair. And I just offer as my vision for where we continue to go is that we deepen our current relationships and we forge new partnerships. We continue to strengthen the infrastructure. We continue to ingrain respect and accountability as part of our culture and how we work. And lastly, we continue to work collaboratively to advocate for and improve our community. That's my thoughts, but what I do is I open it to all of us because we all are vested in this district. We are all invested in this board. So again, I humbly submit my name for chair, and I look forward to working with you in whatever capacity I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fred, and thank you for all the work you've done thus far, and we're looking forward to the continued work as you're the only nominee there. And also for the next position, we have the first vice chairperson, Warren Burke. Is there anything you would like to say to everyone, Warren?
Sure, thank you. I'm Warren Burke. I'm first vice chair of CB9. And I really have to sort of ditto Fred's comments, but just extend a little. I've been on this board for a pretty long time. And prior to the dysfunctionalist that Fred just mentioned, there was more prior. And I am just so very proud of this board. I mean, I think of our achievements this year, just amazing. But going back to COVID and everything else, how we reacted, and then once things freed up, we just answered the call of the community, and that's not the executive board, that's our board members. We've established a fresh food market on Empire where the Associated went out. We just had the best event I've ever seen our board do in terms of the annual, well, now it'll be annual, our fair. So I just want to thank everyone, and the skill set and the interest has so changed on this board. It's just a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Warren. Thank you. Okay, and for our next position, we have Francisca Leopold, and she's the second vice chair. And is there anything you would like to say, Francisca? I'm not sure if she's here.
Mr. Chair, Francisco is not here at this moment.
Okay. So Francisca was running for the second vice chair again. I'm sure she would love to express her love that she has for the community, as she always does when she is here. And but we all are going to vote for her, hopefully, prayerfully. So we're going to move on to the next position, which will be the executive secretary. And we actually have Ms. Linda Watson-Lord. Would you like to share a few words, please?
Sure, I would love to. Around 2020, I was able to eventually become a member of CB9. But during the years living in Crown Heights, Fred, you're right, I would come to some of the open meetings when you were meeting in person and see some discomfort. Well, maybe God had a plan, because 2020 we were all inside, and that is when I was able to join the board. I was asked to fill in as the interim secretary when our last secretary took a very good position and she moved out of state. Yes, I would love to continue to be the secretary. I've got skills that I could learn apart from just taking minutes to the community board. I am very good at research. Housing is like my thing. I always want to make sure I'm always an advocate for housing. I am a community leader. I am a youth leader in my whole diocese. I am part of the management of the whole diocese of Long Island. That's the Episcopal Church, and we've got property that we could use if needed. For the past 2 years or so, I was a member of the youth services, and I find that very enjoyable. We've done a few projects too with our youth in our community. That whole committee, we work hard. We just share ideas. I like it. There's no bickering. There's no against, no, we just come together and we just blend. This executive, for the time I've been here, I've seen that same sort of camaraderie, that community spirit, and it would give me great pleasure to continue.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm sorry they had my camera on. I'm sorry, I thought I was.
And thank you for stepping up. I'm sure we all appreciate your stepping up, in which you did, and you've been doing a great job, let me tell it. So our next candidate, our next member, Naomi Baptiste, is she here?
I didn't see her as present. I was wondering too. No, she's not here yet either. So you might have to go on to the other person.
Okay, so next, I would love to go into treasurer. We'll ask our current treasurer, Dexter Roberts, if you have any words that you'd like to share at this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would like to say good night to all fellow board members. I am Dexter Roberts, your current treasurer, and I'm seeking your mandate to serve another term as your treasurer. Reasons, Muhammad Ali said, service to others is the rent you pay for the room here on earth. I would like to continue to pay for my room here on earth by serving you, the resident of Community Board 9. As your treasurer, each time you call upon me to provide a statement, I did. If even I didn't have the answers, I would seek it and come back and give you the information that was required. Being your treasurer last year was new for me, but I took the mandate. I would say I had a year of trial and errors, but I learned. I asked you to vote for someone who has never missed a meeting. And if even I missed a meeting, or I were on vacation, I would still tune in, log on to my computer and join in the meeting. It is of paramount importance that you have a treasurer who is willing, who is able, who is competent to serve you. I ask you on this evening to close your eyes for just 1 minute. Now open your eyes and I ask you, you read my bio, you heard me each time I made a contribution, and you know that I came solid, I gave my best. I ask you to vote for someone who have a heart. Most of all, saying it from your lips that I want to be the treasurer is one thing, but But guarding, being the treasurer from your heart is another thing. I asked you this evening to give me your mandate one more time to be your treasurer. When I asked you last year, I said I will new, and I took the mantle because no one wanted to fill that position. And if you think that I did a good job, I ask you to give me your vote one more time. If you think I didn't do a good job, then by all means necessary, you have, the powers are in your hands. But I ask you to give me your vote on tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dexter. And two, thank you for stepping up the community board. Definitely appreciate all of your service thus far. Our next member who is vying for that position is Christian. Louis, can you please tell me how to pronounce your last name?
Sure, Lubo.
Louisbo. See, I didn't want to pronounce it incorrectly, but and for an announcement, people, I just noticed this. His birthday is actually tomorrow, so I had to put you on the spot. So we have to make sure we call. All right.
Thank you, Kyrie. And good evening, board members, and welcome to all the new members. I'd like to introduce myself, particularly for those who just joined, give you a little bit about my professional background, the work I've done on the community board, and most importantly, my vision to serve as your treasurer. I was born in Manhattan and I live in Flatbush. I've been a public school teacher for 4 years. I was a public school teacher for 4 years, but I've been a United States diplomat for the last 9 years. I served our country in Haiti, helping stimulate job creation after the 2010 earthquake, and the ambassador counted on me to lead the embassy's fundraising efforts. From there, I was sent to Cuba to help reestablish the diplomatic relationship with a country that the United States didn't have diplomatic relations with for 50 years. I was evacuated from Cuba, and I had the good fortune to come home to New York and serve as the ambassador's advisor to the United Nations. I served as the advisor to the ambassador at the United Nations, and then I sat across the table from Russian, French, and Chinese diplomats negotiating to resolve the world's most intractable conflicts. Why am I here today, though, on the community board? COVID-19 decimated our city, and then George Floyd was killed. And very bluntly, those two things caused me to rethink about how I'm serving. I believe that we have a lot of work to do in our community. And we have a lot of work to do all across New York City, but I'm thankful to the community board for the work and the opportunity that the board has provided me. In my first year as chair of the Environmental Protection Committee, those of you who are on the board, you already know the work that we did on that committee, and you know the work that we did as a community board. We secured a grant for $2,500 for that committee. We drafted a letter to our elected officials to address the sanitation issues plaguing our community. And with the partnership of our district managers, we were able to get council members to commit to funding new waste baskets in South Crown Heights. That's the work that we did. That's the organizing work that we did. That's the work that we did together. But in doing that work, I came to realize that we don't have the money that we need. We don't have the resources that we need. Our budget only goes so far. And it hasn't always been apparent to board members what the budget actually looks like. So here's the last thing I'll say. That's my vision for the role of treasurer. My vision for the role of treasurer is founded on 3 things. The first thing is transparency. We need to know what is in our budget, where does that money come from, and how it's being spent. Last week, Councilmember Hudson came out and she gave a readout of the budget process in the city council. That was very helpful. We need to have our own understanding of the budget. And my commitment to you is I'm going to educate myself so that then in the first 100 days, I can lead a session where we are having a learning session and we're improving our own financial literacy about the community board's budget. The second aspect of my vision is really dependent on accessibility. It's one thing to show what the budget is, what it looks like, but if we don't understand the codes that make up that budget, if we don't understand when the money gets into that budget, if we don't understand, because there's 100 different columns in the Excel spreadsheet, we need to make sure that the budget and our money is accessible and everyone has an understanding of how it's being spent. And that leads me to the last part of my vision. The third part is equity. I'm gonna be very honest with you. It bothers me when I walk on the other side of the park and I see the resources that other neighborhoods have. I'm thinking about Park Slope and other neighborhoods on that side of Prospect Park. When I did the work that we did in the Environmental Protection Committee, we came to find out that we need more resources. And so what I would like to do is I would like to help get our Friends of CB9 nonprofit up and running again, take care of the administrative paperwork, do what we got to do to reactivate that, and then have that nonprofit serve as a vehicle for our community and our committees to raise the funds that we need, take in grants, take in sponsorships and resources from those that can contribute to the nonprofit. That's why I'm running for treasurer, to make sure that all committees and all members of this community board have the resources that they need, they understand the budget, and they have someone that they can count on in a partnership with a community board that they can count on, so that they always know how our money is being spent. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to serving this community board.
Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you for your service. Next position we have is member at large. I would love to introduce Nicholas Almanar, who's currently sitting as a member at large and has done a great job thus far. So please, if you have anything you'd love to say.
Yes, indeed I do. Well, because I missed the deadline for the bio, I didn't post it, but I thought I'll say a few words about me. I came to this community board in 1973 when I became a student at Wingate High School.
Yes.
Graduated there in 2 years, went on to Brooklyn College. And 5 years later, I rejoined this particular community to become a chemistry science teacher at Prospect Heights High School. So I've been in this community as a student, as a teacher, and right now I left this community and came back some 14 years ago when I became a homeowner in this community. So I couldn't leave this community. So I've been a homeowner in this community since 14 years. And I moved back to this community about 8 years ago. At that time, being in this community, I started to attend the community board meetings. And I found that it was very chaotic, very dysfunctional. And I applied a couple of times to become a member. And this is going to be my 4th year. This is for the 2nd mandate. And then my background is not only as a chemist, and since high school, I was been involved in youth activities. So when I was in high school, we created a youth group that opened at our local church. One of the things I did when I left Brooklyn College, at Brooklyn College, I was very active into the politics. Our group was the first people of color that have taken over the student government at Brooklyn College. So I was a founding member of the United Student League, where I learned a lot more about my politics on the Robert Rules of Order. Subsequently, one of my co-founders for USL was the Honorable Nicholas Nick Perry. So I worked along with him a long time, and I was a member of his campaign, 2 campaigns that he does. So then I become involved into the politics of Brooklyn. In addition to that, not only I was a chemistry teacher, I was also a member of SSEU Local 371, Social Service Employees Union. When I finished college, I joined HRA as a child abuse and neglect investigator. And I become very involved in the union, where I become member of the executive of the union and also a delegate to DC 37. With that, I've done a lot of work in union. Union is in my blood. I'm a union through and through. That's my best thing. I have a lot of organizing experience, and you could see once I became the chair of the Park Recreation Committee, I initiated quite a lot of activities, including this activity we had, which is the community fair. This was an idea that I put forward, and I think it's been realized. Actually, I have a much grander vision for it, and I'm hoping to be reelected as a member at large, so I would continue in that kind of work. I live in this community. I have a grandchild in this community. We want to make that community as safe as possible. That's one of the things my wife and I are very concerned about. So I'm seeking your vote. And I think this community board meeting, we know all, I'm glad to say a lot of new people are known to that, and I'm here really willing to work with every member of that community board. And one of the things that I did was to attend almost every committee meeting that I can get my hand off to get an idea how this place operates. So I'm hoping to be reelected to continue the work that I started. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Almanor. And again, we all appreciate your contributions, and we definitely love the community fair event. So, right. I too, I'm not sure on the list that was sent out, I'm not sure if Miss Evelyn Williams rescinded her desire to run for member at large, but if you are here and you did want to run, please do so. The last name on the ballot for member at large and as a candidate seeking you all's vote to be a part of the executive.
I don't think she's a board member anymore. Fred, to clarify, I don't think she's a board member anymore.
That's correct. She's no longer on the board.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. That was Yakov's voice, I believe, right? Berman? Thank you.
Yes, it was.
Oh, see, I just remember. Okay, so thank you. Well, then it leaves me. I am Kyrie Aline. I am born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I have family from Trinidad and Tobago, so I definitely love my roots there as well. Born and raised here in CB9 means the world to me. In fact, last year, along with some of the other new members that I've been able to meet and become friends with, I joined because I said I actually wanted to use my voice in a way, in a collective way with other members who are using their voices to lead our community to something better, right? So with that being said, I, again, am Kyrie Aline. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I love to see challenges through. I love to solve problems. My favorite color is green. I love tennis. I love to dance. And I definitely love Crown Street, where I'm born and raised, which is a part of CB9. And I ask for your vote. I'm an innovator, an entrepreneur, an author. Honestly, a leader who loves to lead by first following and understanding. And thus, that's what I have done for the first part of my year being on this community board. But now it's time for me to step up, and I hope and pray that you all entrust those different desires that are on your heart for our community with me, because I know I will be there. And as I'm running for the position of member at large, I do know too on the email that went out, that was the only position that wasn't maybe given a description. I think that's because a member at large's duty is to be able to make shift and then pick up where pick up the pieces and or be ready and prepared to do whatever the chair of our board instructs us and or the community board itself sees that there is a need for us to do, similar to like how Nicholas Almanar did with that community fair, which I thought was amazing, amazing, amazing. So I am Kyrie Aline, and that's all I have to say. And yeah, I love CB9. Thank you. And I pass it over to our chair, Fred, because that's the conclusion. Wait, actually, we have Francisca, and I would love the opportunity if you would like to address your constituents as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I know most of you would have already received my bio. You would have already looked at my bio. I have been chair, the second vice chair for a few years. In the community, I live in Lefferts Avenue between Bedford and Rogers. Being on the board, seeing the good, seeing the bad, and seeing the ugly. And now that we are seeing the best. And we are actually seeing the best, and I'm so happy as to where the board is right now. Honestly, there is a time that I was thinking of departing and jumping ship. Maybe I could drown somewhere along the line, but I'm happy that some of the persons who are very dedicated and who also love the board encouraged me to stay on. So I serve as the second vice chair on the board. And I know you would have seen my bio, most of you. And I love what I do. I love working with the elderly. I love servicing the community. I serve, and one of the areas that I know that what I bring to my committee, which is the Health and Social Services, is my connection with the community at large. I also serve as chair at Kings County on the review board. And during the pandemic, I was able to do presentation online. Unfortunately, the participation and persons and the community at large and the information that was being brought forth, that was very important. We didn't get a lot of people coming on to get all those information, but we had health segments every month. We had healthy cooking during COVID, which was great. We had doctors who were coming on online and giving information on diabetes. We had doctors talking about mental health and also obesity and different areas. So it gives me a leverage as to bring in health, the health services to the community. So because the hospital, they have so much to offer our community, our elderly, and then, so I am inside to be able to bridge that gap between the hospital and the community. And then it enhances what I do on the board. My 9 to 5, I am an associate human rights specialist. I work with the New York City Commission on Human Rights, and I also bring that to the table as well. So any member of our community who's experiencing any sorts of bias, profiling, or discrimination, I am at that place with that other hat that I'm able to assist my community. In last year, 2021, my group, my team and I, Health and Social Services, were able to put on the very first time in our community, a community health fair, which was held on Lefferts Avenue between Washington and Bedford, and it was a success. And a lot of you here, even Mr. Almanor was instrumental in that as well. And the board, the board body as well, were able to put on a successful fair. And then persons were asking for it again, and therefore we were able to collaborate with the board again this year and to have such a successful and great community fair this year. I love what I do. I love working with the community. I work very closely with the 71st Precinct because I am the partner and then the lead community liaison for the 71st Precinct. And I mean, I'll just go on and tell you the very same things that you will have read on my bio. So I'm here asking you to vote for me so that I could continue to doing the things that I love to do, serving my community, working with the seniors. Our seniors are being treated very poorly. The services that they need, they are not receiving those services. And I'm looking forward to enhance what I have done before. And I know that we have a new set of persons coming in on the board right now, and I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm not looking for us to be on the board just to be board members just by name, but that we can put that into action and able to service the community that we live and the community that we serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Francisca. So back to you, friend, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so very much, Kyrie. I want to thank you and your nominations team, your committee team for all the work that you did. I think we're definitely at the disadvantage in terms of us being so late in the process, and I apologize in advance to the new members because I know you're being thrust right into an election, your first meeting in, and you're asked to select the leadership for the board. But what I can say is you have a lot of great choices, having worked with everyone who put their names forward as candidates. So this is probably the one that you'll have to go on trust and faith a little bit. But I think that you definitely have some great options, and I think we can endorse the people who are running. Okay, so just for a little bit of logistics. So the district office team, we voted on the amendment. We are able to now vote electronically. The district office team is going to be sending you a link to your email. So I'd ask to please all check your emails when you have an opportunity. You can either check it by PC or it'll come to your phone. When you get it, you will see a list of all of the candidates for each of the respective positions. So there is one person running for chair, one person running for first vice chair, one person running for second vice chair. Now, there are two people running for secretary. And unless, Madam Secretary, please, one of the candidates is not here, though. And the protocol of the board has been anyone who's running for a position needs to be present at the meeting where we're having the election. So is Ms. Naomi Baptiste on? Is she here?
Not right now at this moment. And I also want to say right now, our number for legal voting is 30 because Madam Francesco had joined us.
Thank you very much. Okay, per our bylaws, all officers must be elected with the majority of all the votes present in casting votes. So your vote does count. So you please make sure you do vote for a candidate. On the ballot, you should also have a space for a write-in candidate. So if there's someone you know that you feel very strongly for, it is definitely within your rights to vote for someone else as well. All candidates to be elected must have at least 50% of the votes cast. Must have a majority of the votes cast in their favor to be elected to the office. Again, and also please note, with respect to the member at large, Dante, is Ms. Williams still on the ballot or has she been removed?
She was removed from the ballot.
Okay. So then you will have only two candidates for member at large on the ballot as well. All right, Dante, can you verify, if you can, would you please just send out the link to all the members? What we're going to ask is for any members, as we continue, if you have not received a ballot, to please make sure you raise your hand so that way the district office team can work with you in terms of being able to register your vote. Okay? So make sure you check your email, whatever email you have registered with the board office, the ballot will go there. If you do not see it within the next couple of minutes, please raise your hand so that way we can make sure you get we can get your vote and have it recorded. Okay, and with that, please send those out, and the elections have begun. We are now going to move on in the agenda. We are going to go to the district office report. Dante, can you do that, or you want us to come back to you?
Sure, no, I can go ahead. Let's
okay.
do it. All right, give me one short second. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Dante Arnwine. I serve as the district manager of Brooklyn Community Board 9. Congratulations to all the new members who are coming onto the community board. I look forward to working with all of you on the community board's endeavors. If you have any questions for me specifically about my role as part of the community board, please don't hesitate to send me an email or call the board office. With that, I will start my report. So first on the report, I do want to thank everyone who helped and participated with the community fair on June 4th. We had a great turnout from members of the public, great turnout from registered vendors. It was a great forum for people of the community, residents, to come out and get very meaningful information. And so I just wanted to thank everyone who helped facilitate it, plan it, execute it. Much appreciation. Next, prior to the community fair, a flyer had went out regarding a rain barrel event that the board would be doing. We are working on solidifying a date for the rain barrel event. You will be seeing emails come out if you are a member of the public or board member who signed up for a rain barrel. You will be seeing emails come out through, I would say, July of a date for when we will do the giveaway. We are trying again to narrow down a date with DEP, the Department for Environmental Protection, for a giveaway. So just check your email, follow your email, and you will see that come through. Also important is that natural gas customers in New York State are currently undergoing natural gas service line inspections. These inspections are mandated by law. So you may see individuals come to your doors. If you or anyone that you know may have seen individuals come to your door asking for an inspection, the contracted company for these inspections, they're doing it as a third party through natural gas, is Precision Pipeline Solutions. So if there are any contractors who come to your door who, and they should have ID from Precision Pipeline Solutions, they are doing the inspections on behalf of National Grid. So please let them into your home, let them conduct the inspection. I believe that there is, I believe it's up to $1,000 penalty for non-access. So we want to make sure that anyone who needs to provide access is able to provide access. If you are not sure if you are on the list to provide access, you can contact the board office. I can connect you with Con Edison just so we can ensure that inspector comes to your home, access is provided, they do the inspections, and you avoid a penalty. Next, the City Bike locations, there is going to be a City Bike inspection throughout Brooklyn. And so there has been conversation, I believe it was brought up by our transportation chair, Carmen Martinez, of possibly doing like a City Bike expansion presentation for the general public as we're going into the summer hiatus with the board. We'll follow your email, follow the board's weekly e-blast, follow us on social media. We will try to figure out if we can do that type of session during the summer hiatus. It's important. We have received complaints about City Bike docks. So if you are aware of any City Bike dock that's maybe around your home or in the district, reach out to the board office if you're seeing any problems with it. We have seen these locations have just accumulated a lot of trash. And so if you see that or there's any problems with the dock itself, please just reach out to the board office so we can connect with City Bike to have that addressed. Also, if there are any locations in the district where you see illegal dumping, please do not hesitate to reach out to the board office, preferably with haste. Please submit a 311 request. That's extremely important. 2, make sure you get the address for this is located. Any pictures would be helpful just so inspectors know exactly where to go. Reach out to the board office with 311 request number and any additional information so we can forward that over to our colleagues at the Department of Sanitation Enforcement so they can monitor that location. Let's see, next, briefly, just the latter part of my report, I want to encourage everyone, if you're a new member, again, welcome, sign up for our weekly e-blast. Our e-blast has a lot of information coming from many different sources, city agencies, state agencies, a gamut of nonprofits. We have great nonprofits here in Brooklyn. And so, we help facilitate the information and their services. Sign up for our weekly e-blast. We send it out every Friday. Usually around 5 o'clock. If you have any information from any nonprofits that you know of that would be beneficial for people in the district, reach out to the board office and we can add that to our weekly e-blast. And then the last thing I will say with two final things is the summer is approaching. Just stay cognizant of emails. You all as board members will be receiving emails throughout the summer, even though you're in the hiatus. So just follow along with emails that come from the board office. That is our quickest and best way of updating you of future plans for the board and what the fall session will look like moving forward. And so please just follow your email. The last thing that I will finish my report with is that one of our staffers, Khalid Nixon, has been with Brooklyn Community Board 9 for probably half a decade. He definitely outdates me and he definitely outdates Amia. I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate Khalid. He's our community assistant. He is moving up in the world. He's taking on a new role. He will be the new assistant district manager at Brooklyn Community Manhattan Community Board 11. And so I just wanted to say congratulations, Khalid. I'm very pleased to have had you a part of the team, taking this role during the pandemic. You're a very knowledgeable person. You deserve all of the congratulations that you're going to get. And so with that, I just want to say congratulations, and I wish you the absolute best in your endeavors. That's the finality of my report.
Thank you very much, Dante. We can take a couple of questions for the district manager, just a couple. Please use the raise hand function if you have a question for the district manager.
Hey, it's Warren. I don't have a question. I have a statement, so I didn't raise my hand. I just want to really thank Khalid for all the work he did. I've known Khalid for 6 or 7 years. He's been through all the turmoil of our dysfunctional past leaders. I'm just so proud of him that he went to graduate school, he did the work, and now he is going to a better position. Of course, in my mind, I just think that the world of him, and I hope he really succeeds. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Warren. All right, are there any questions for the district manager? I do see Fran and I see Linda. If those are questions, we'll close on them.
And add Christian LeBeau.
Christian.
Yeah, he can't use his raise hand, but I see his hand raised. I see your hand raised.
Okay. All right, we'll get Christian then as well. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Francisco or me?
Linda, go ahead. You first.
Okay. I don't really have a question on the district manager, apart from saying thank you, Dante, for being yourself. Since you've joined us a year ago, from the get-go, you have hit the ground running. You have been there to explain anything that any of us did not know or wanted to know. Yes, I could see that you have really learned a lot from Khalid, because I've known Khalid before you came. And again, when I joined the board, he would always be so respectful, him and Mia. I was going to take off Miss Watson, Lord, I'm Linda. But thank you, Khalid. You know, I'm an advocate for young people who's progressing, and you have been good to us. And if you could have run this board when we were in COVID, you could run any board in good time. You are an asset to anyone.
Well said, Ms. Well said, Linda. Well said. Fran.
Well, yes, I am. I don't have a question, but I just want to say to Khalid, I don't have tongues enough, words enough to thank you. When I heard, it's like a dagger went through my heart, because you are a young man. You're like a son to me as far as I'm concerned. You are just so professional, respectful. I mean, anytime you call Khalid, it doesn't matter. You don't even know if you're getting him on his nerves, because he's so cool and collective. You know, he's just like easy like Sunday morning. You know, he would answer and then he would be like, oh, Fran, it's you. Okay. And I mean, he's just so professional and he'll get back to you. You know, I mean, as anything else, there are times, you know, he might forget, say, oh, you know, I forgot or whatever. But Khalid stays on top of it. And to know that if he's not at the board and you call him on his private phone, he will answer and call you back. If you call him on a Sunday, he will answer. You call him on a holiday, it doesn't matter when you call him. He'll never say, well, I'm not at work, I'm off the clock, you know. Even he's on vacation. Oh, you know, I remember one time I called Khalid. Khalid was in Grenada and he answered the phone. I said, Khalid, you in Grenada, I call you when you answer the phone. What's wrong with you, boy? You know, so that, and I know wherever you're going, it's our loss, but it's gain to where you're going, and the sky is the limit. You will do great things, and I am so, so happy for your progress. And we are here for you still, and it doesn't matter because you're going to Manhattan, you live in the community, so you're still part of this board. So we're looking forward to you, to seeing you at the meetings and still being part of. Great congratulations to you, congratulations. And for Dante, we just thank you. as Linda said, you just came on, you just took the bull by the horn and you just ride that bull. And we just thank you so much for what you've done, you know, for us thus far. And to have the beautiful Mia next to you, what more can you ask for? Thank you, Mia, as well, for all the work that you do for the community, for the board. Mia as well, you know, you can get her on her nerves and you never know because she'll be so professional with everything. So thank you guys. You're just an awesome, awesome, awesome work. Awesome, awesome, awesome job. Thank you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I did say, Christian, we will, I think you said you had your hand raised. We will see you. Bishop Gonzalez, okay, I see the hands are going up. We do need to move forward. We will try and give an opportunity after we've concluded. So if people do want to share thoughts about Khalid and our team, I'll give an opportunity then. But I just want to make sure we can complete our agenda first at least. But I will give an opportunity towards the end once we've done.
I don't have the email to vote.
Okay, we'll work with you to get that.
Okay.
Okay then. All right. Okay. So listen, we're going to move on in the agenda. We're going to go to the next item, the treasurer's report. Mr. Roberts, you're on deck, sir.
Hi, sir. Good night to all board members, and welcome to the new members. Where do I start? Do I start with the community report for your the report for the community fair, or should I start from the last budget where they had questions, 3 items that they had question, or do I go to the new one? Where do I go first?
My recommendation, and I'm only partly interested because in the interest of time, the report went out. So if you want to give quick highlights on the report, those items that were left over, go ahead. And then if you want to give some comments with regards to the fair, go ahead after that too as well.
Okay, cool. Could I get sharing privilege?
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, you should be able to do it now.
Okay, give me 1 minute.
Mr. Chair, I don't mean to interject here. I'm concerned that if, as the night goes on, if we lose some members, if there are any votes we have to redo, we may not have enough people. So I'm just wanting you to take that into consideration.
No, absolutely. We have the treasurer's report. I'll try and keep my chairman's report as brief as possible, and we have 1 voting item. So I just ask for everyone's patience. We're moving along. We're going to be able to get through this very shortly. Just please be patient.
Okay, so budget as of June 24, 2022. And we're looking at the line item 001. And we see that we have the current modification shows that we have $203,812. The actual expenditure was $194,254.94. Just hold on. I forgot to clip here. Just hold on. I forgot to click here. Okay, great. And we have so when we look at the total, we have a total of $9,559.94 uncommitted. So that is the balance in the budget underneath that line item of 001, which is personal expense. And then we look under the funds of 001. And we have a breakdown of all the things that we did here. In the interest of time, I would just go straight to what is the balance. If you have any questions, you're free to ask. So we have, we see here the current modification budget. We see $54,407. We see the encumbered is $10,497.70. And the actual expenditure is $37,852.59. We have a balance of $8,002.75. So, and then when we go to line item, where we look on the 001, and that is like with rent and capital expenditures and the heat and those stuff, we see that we had the total budget was $380,182, and we incurred $21,570.70. The actual expenditure was $330,636.49. That's a balance of $27,025.81. That was as of June 24th, as of June 24th, 2022. So that is just the last one. I would run straight into any questions. Seeing none, I'll just run into the budget for
I believe that Suki Chung and Teresa Westerdahl both have questions.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. Are there any more questions for the treasurer at this time? Because we're going to cut the list off there so that way he can continue. Any other questions for the treasurer? Okay. Not seeing those. Take those two questions, Dexter, and then move on in your report.
Okay. Great.
Hi. So I just want to thank you so much for doing this work. It's something a lot of us don't really want to do. And, you know, when we look at these numbers, what do you think as board members we should be looking for? I mean, do we have any control over these expenditures? Should we be asking questions about it? Is there a fixed amount of money that goes to every community board and we get to decide how to spend it? Is there a fixed amount of money for each category? I mean, a lot of times I think it's not so much a case of like, you're not presenting the numbers or we don't understand it. It's just, well, what should we do with this information? So it's kind of more of like a, you know, we'd like your professional opinion question.
Well, firstly, the money all comes from Borough Hall, I would assume. And then it is disbursed to the office, the community board office. And I don't think that you have that direct, you have some expenditures when you look at their standard, their capital says not that you could actually divert from it. If you have rent, you would not have a direct amount of money as per se to say, well, okay, we have a direct, that rent will be $5 every month. It will differ. So the budget itself in terms of like your personal expenses, it differ based upon the needs or I should say based upon the needs that we have at the community board.
So every district potentially gets a different amount based on their stated needs.
Yes, so the money this money comes from Borough Hall, and it doesn't have equitable distribution to say that you will give Brooklyn 5,000 and you'll give Manhattan 5,000 and you'll give Queen 5,000. I don't think that's how the money actually runs.
Dexter, if I could interject for a second.
Sure.
When it comes to the community boards, we all get the same amount of money. The differences you'll probably see in most of the boards will probably be around rent expense. So if your neighborhood is a little bit higher rent or a little bit lower rent, there'll be some slight variations with respect to that. That's really out of our control. So that's really more administrative. They tell you that's in your budget, but that's really getting processed on a monthly basis by Borough Hall and Office of Management and Budget. The other two sections where you see personnel services and for OTPS, other than personnel services, there is some flexibility, but not the amount of flexibility you would want to say. So for example, in other than personnel services, you can say we need more water and less paper. Those kinds of changes you can make, but you don't really have a lot of discretion in terms of, it's not like you can say, well, there's this enormous budget. You can make some movements depending on what your individual board needs. So there are opportunities to do that. And personnel services is another one where there's not that much flexibility. In terms of most of it will end up being captured by salaries for the staff. You might see some boards where there's 2 people on staff. Some boards might have 3 people on staff. Some boards might have the ability to do consultants every once in a while as well, but that's all captured in a budget that's very similar across all the boards. I hope that kind of helps clarify that.
So we're really just looking at this every year to make sure the numbers add up and there isn't like some money disappearing into a black hole somewhere, right?
Right. Well, if it was disappearing, they'd be coming for Dante. So, you know.
I'm just joking, but that's just
No.
Hey,
No, absolutely.
this is Warren. Fred, I just want to add to this. The best way to look at this, in my humble opinion, is that it's like a debit card. Okay, you get 250 Rand to start off, and then you can make charges against that. And each charge is evaluated by Borough Hall as well as another division. So there's not a lot of flexibility here, and it is highly scrutinized. So thank you.
But this is definitely something I think as part of the orientation, we should probably have a more in-depth, we will have a little bit more color in terms of how this works and even how money comes into the district as well. So that'll be part of the conversation we have when we do the orientation.
Okay, great.
And I believe Ms. Westerdahl was the next.
Hi. Hi everyone. I'm looking over the budget, and as someone who actually likes to look at budgets and figure things out, I'm having a hard time with this particular budget. I guess one of my interests was, and I wrote about this and I haven't seen it yet, is for the fair, the expenditures. I'm interested in other fairs and those types of events in the future. So what I would like to know is, for example, how much was spent on, say, the DJ, how much was spent on the tables, how much was spent on the chairs, and what vendors did we use? And more precise expenditures would be really helpful so we could gauge future events. Oh, I see that now, but that was not included in the budget that I was sent. I see that on right now. Thank you for posting that. Could somebody, I just want to be sent that, and I want to see what the expenditures were for the future. I'm very interested.
Yes, I would. I mean, I have no reservations about sending it to you. I don't know how we could see the full expenditures for the future with this budget, but we can definitely send it to you so you have it.
Yeah, and just to know who the vendors were and how much was actually spent, you know, because it looks like, was this the cost?
Well, if you look, not to interject you, but you can see that the expenditure was not, we didn't have to spend much money on the fair itself, because most of the vendors that came, they volunteer, they bring the stuff and they distribute. What you look at, we had to say, in any fair you go, because even at the college where I work, you have to provide tables for the vendors, and you must supply, you will provide a DJ, which is a DJ, I mean, it's $400 a day paid for DJ is very reasonable. A DJ actually will cost you $600 to $700 for a fair all day. I mean, $400 is a very reasonable amount. Then you look at the van rental, that is like reasonable. What cheaper could we have gone? You tell me.
I'm not really questioning the amounts or if the expenses were too much. I just want to know what they were for the future and who we used. It's not about being, saying like you spent too much.
Even to get to use the vendors, and you have to vet them, because it's not like you could just pick a vendor. Your vendor have to apply through the process and they go through. So you can't just pick a vendor who you want to, or who I want to pick. These vendors, them have to register through Borough Hall and get themselves as a licensed contractor to Community Board.
That's good information. Thank you.
This was said since before I became treasurer. This was said, so I knew that the vendors, when you're getting vendors, it's not like I can just go and pick a vendor who I want, or Mr. Baptiste can choose a vendor who he likes, or Dante can do, or you can do. If you have an event, you have to go through the process of going through the Borough Hall. You have to go through the vendors that they have, and you can choose what probably you want to do so. And again, any money that's a city money, as long as more than $250, you must go through a bidding process. So you have to have price quotes before you even begin to use a vendor.
Okay. maybe we could go over that sometime together so I have a better understanding.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, I see none, right? So,
Fred, I think it's back to you.
Okay. All right, Dexter, thank you very much, Mr. Treasurer, for providing this report for the board. And I think this is a good exercise in terms of we get to see how the expenditures go. We see what the procurement process is. I think that it was very good what we did in terms of we came up with a preliminary budget. And I think that, there were a lot of lessons learned in terms of there were some places we had synergies. I think we found nuggets here and there where we were able to say, oh, listen, one of the vendors might have, was able to provide a DJ. So I think these are the things that are the lessons that are learned. Sometimes you never know by just going out into the network. We're able to access a lot of things. But definitely great information, and I think we're going to be using that going forward in terms of as we plan events going on in the future as well. And this is also a note just for the new board members. One of the things that we're trying to implement is that we're doing this as part of the planning. Anytime we're having our planning, we're making sure that we're putting numbers. Let's put real dollars or projected dollars to projects. That way we can really figure out what's the best way to implement and really be creative in terms of how we fund these things and how we make sure that we're getting an effect in the community. Okay. All right then. So now we're going to go on to my chairman's report. I am going to try and keep it blessedly brief. Since this is our last meeting for the year. A lot of the things have already been touched on. First of all, I just want to echo again and again and again how phenomenal that community fair was. It was truly something that is not precedented in my tenure as a board member for over 10 years. It was phenomenal. It was great energy. It was just great to see people after being locked up for 2 years. So I thank all the board members. I thank all the vendors. I thank our district office team for putting this together. For the committees who started the work, who planted the seeds. Between youth services and Parks and Recreation, who came and they said they wanted to do this, and this was an idea that was going back for a couple of years, and they pushed, and we said, you know what, let's just go big on this. And this came out big in a way that I could never have expected, and that's again due to the work of this board and this team. Board members again, so I want to welcome again the 11 new board members. So again, in recognizing that you guys have been put in a very difficult position, so we're just going to say stay tuned. We are going to definitely do our best to make sure that you are caught up to speed in terms of the board, how we operate, and how we conduct business, that you have knowledge of all the things that affect you as a board member, between parliamentary procedures, between conflicts of interest, and just in general, just in terms of how we deal with the community. So there was a swearing in that occurred on 6/24. For any members who did not make that, there will be another one on July 12th. Please make sure, if you did not go to the 6/24 one, go to the July 12th one. If you don't have any information, please contact the board office, and we will make sure we connect you with Borough Hall to make sure you can RSVP for that. Okay, we did the bylaws amendment, again, just to reiterate. So we are able to right now meet virtually as a result of the state law that was passed, and the board has passed a resolution allowing for that. That is for the state of the city emergency. When that is over, then we will probably be going back to in-person meetings. So we're continuing to work with the mayor's office and Borough Hall to see when that happens. But I would say just be prepared to expect that we will actually be able to get together. We will probably be meeting in person in September when we get together. And just stay tuned with respect to that. And you know what? I just really want to finish up with a couple of acknowledgments. First of all, I just want to say it's been my honor and privilege to be able to work with such a phenomenal team. Starting with the officers I've been able to work with. First Vice Chair Warren Burke, Second Vice Chair Francisca Leopold, Secretary Linda Watson-Lord, and I really want to say something in terms of she stepped in. She jumped into a gap when we were not able to get a secretary, and she just took it and made it hers, and she's been phenomenal. So we've been very fortunate as a board to have two back-to-back very, very good secretaries. So thank you so much for your service in that. I want to thank Dexter Roberts as well. I want to thank Nicholas Almanor for his work. Dexter Roberts is chair, Nicholas Almanor as a member at large. I think it's only proper that we acknowledge Ms. Evelyn Williams, who was a long tenured member of this board, long serving officer on this board as a member at large. So I think it's only fair and proper that we recognize her and her contributions to this district and this board. So I want to thank her. I want to thank all the chairs of the committees. You guys are pulling duty in terms of, you're responsible for your committees. Then you come to the executive committee and report to the executive officers. And then you come to the, come as board members in terms of doing the deliberations. I want to thank you all for the work you've done. I want to thank Warren Burke with Economic Development, Francisca Leopold with Health and Social Services, Nicholas Almanor with Parks and Recreation, Carmen Martinez serving as Chair of Transportation, Christian Lubeau with Environmental Protection, Rabbi Yakov Berman with Public Safety, Melanie Lewis, who chaired Education and Library, Primo Lasana, who served as chair of Youth Services, Beverly Newsom, and I particularly want to thank Beverly Newsom and Pat Moses, because we dragged them into the game very late in terms of being chairs, but they were phenomenal. They took these committees and they really did a lot of great work, and I thank them all for this. To all the committee members, to the community board members, to the resident members, you all come together out of the spirit of you want to serve this community. You want to make CB9, this Community District 9, better. I can't think of anything more noble in terms of you come and you give of your time. You make the sacrifices for everyone else to do better. I thank you so much for the service. I thank you so much for the hard work. It's an honor and privilege working with all of you. And I thank you all for answering the clarion call and stepping up. And then we definitely want to finish off with our district office team. Dante, you just completed a year at CB9. You survived. You didn't run off screaming and yelling yet. I just want to thank you for all the hard work you've done. It's a really tribute to you and your professionalism and your skill in terms of jumping right in. You didn't have a honeymoon. You didn't have an opportunity to learn how to walk. You were running from day one. And you've run this very well, and I'm very happy that we chose you as our district manager, and we're very proud of you. Mia Hilton, our assistant district manager, stalwart, who keeps us in line, who keeps us in check, who makes sure everything's run smoothly, who's that smiling voice on the phone when you call, and she's there with answers from years of experience. Thank you so much for everything you bring to this office, and you had helped us to hold this office down too before Dante's arrival. So we thank you and all your work and your professionalism. Okay, I think that's it. That's all I'm going to thank right now. And that would be a lie. Khalid Nixon, this is where I take a point of personal privilege as chair. I have so much pride in you. I have so much thanks for you, because truly you were the most senior member of the team there in terms of tenure. 5 years ago, you came on board. You know, and the funny thing is, he'll tell you the story too. He wasn't the first one picked, but you know what? He was the one who we needed. He came on board. He really took he took his position. He was the person who picked up the phone. He got things done. He asked the questions. He did the work. And you know what? Always with a smile on his face, and he did it diligently. We're just so proud of you to see that you are going on, that your work is being recognized. You know, and I guess that speaks a little bit to, just to put it on us, I guess that happens when you have a championship team. People come and try and poach your talent. But yes, you are a talented young man. We admire you, respect you. We are so happy for you, and we look forward to even bigger and better things from you in the future. And with that being said, that concludes my chairman's report. I want to thank everyone for a phenomenal year and everything you've done. And I'm looking forward to a wonderful future for this board. I will take any questions at this point. We can take a couple if you have any.
As a newbie, I got a couple of questions.
Sure.
The ballot that was emailed to me, when is that due? Is that due tonight, or is that due, when is the deadline on the ballot?
Oh, we're voting tonight. Yeah, put it in.
I'm sorry?
It was 20 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Well then, I don't recognize this software. Do I just, I mean, how do I mark my choices?
It's a Google form. So when you click on it, it'll open a form. You're going to put your email address, you're going to put your name, and then they'll see little buttons where you can click your vote.
All right, all right. And I was one of those people who went to the June 24th registration and orientation meeting as a newbie. And but I knew nothing about this meeting until a neighbor called, and I wouldn't want this to happen again. But I'm just curious. This is not. I had plans on trying to join the sanitation, public safety, and traffic committees. How are committee assignments made for typically?
What we'll do is at some point, oh, I'm sorry, Dante, go ahead. I see Dante waving his hand.
Mr. Pruitt, did you receive the link for the vote?
Yeah, it's in my, yes, I got the link for the vote.
Okay, so that's the email in question. That's the one that you're going to use moving forward, correct? Because that's the one that we already had in our listserv.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to confirm. Thanks.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, so as long as you're checking that email, the district office that'll be your email with the board. So if you have another email you'd prefer, you can just let them know. So that way they'll make sure the communication goes to you. But that's how you'll be, for the most part, that's how we'll be communicating with you.
Okay.
By email.
Okay. So tell me about committee assignments.
Right, and regarding committee assignments, what's going to happen, and this is for all the new board, well, for all board members, we send a questionnaire during the summer where we will give you a list of the committees, and at which point you'll be able to rank your preferences in terms of which committees you would want to serve on. So we get that information, and then we try and staff the committees appropriately. So we try and take into consideration which your top picks are, and we try and get people into those so that way they're able to serve.
Good.
Fred, I'm leaving this meeting in 10 minutes. If you want to read out the results, you're welcome to.
Okay, Yakov, okay, well, you're going to try and get off. Yes, okay, thank you. All right. Okay, are there any other questions? All right, hold on. I see Naomi. Naomi, I see you on. Do you have a question? Naomi?
Can you hear me? I guess you can hear me. I was saying, can you hear me?
Yes,
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, it's a little jumbled.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'll just write. I'll ask later. No, it's okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. No problem. Okay. I see Christian, and then we're going to move on.
Mr. Chair, Mia's hand have been up.
Oh, Mia, you have a question? I'm sorry, you had a question, Mia?
I'm so sorry. It's not a question. I just want to get my statement in and just a few words of thanks to Khalid. Khalid and I spent a lot of time at 890 going through a host of a gamut of just about every situation that you can think of, whether it was constituent related, tech related, facility related, and we figured it out. And he's been great. Best of luck to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Christian, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate Khalid. He's been a consistent presence in all the Environmental Protection Committee meetings. We've had a lot of questions. He's always done the work in terms of answering our questions, either in the meeting or if he didn't know the answer, he'd look it up and get back to us by the next morning. And I really appreciate him and all of his service to the community board, to the committees, and our loss is Manhattan's gain. Best of luck.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, all right, we are now going to move on. We are going to go on to the voting items. We need to make sure we get through this, and then after that, well, actually, before we do that, Dante and team, how are we doing with elections? Are there any votes that are still outstanding?
Right now, we have a total of 27 cast. Is there anyone who did not receive the link so we can like try to troubleshoot that as soon as possible?
Right. Is there anyone who did not vote yet? We need you to put your hand down so that way the team can help you. Otherwise, we're gonna, we're gonna have to close the we're gonna have to close the ballot box, the virtual ballot box shortly. Anyone who has not had an opportunity to vote. Oh yes, go ahead, Ms. Go ahead.
I have a question, darling. I need 2 members at large. I need to vote for 2 members at large.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, 2 preferably, but if you want to vote for 1, you can vote for 1.
There you go. Thank you.
You received the link, that's correct?
Yes, I did. I'm
okay,
going to send it to you now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Are there any other board members who have not submitted their ballots? Please put your hand in the air.
I'm completing it now.
Okay. All right. We'll give you another couple of minutes. We're going to continue with the business. Just let us know when you're done. We just wanted to confirm. All right. So listen, let's move on. We're going to go on to the voting items. We have one item for consideration, the SLA application. The applicant was here for Zed's Eats and Drinks Corp., 675 Flatbush Avenue. It was an application for new wine, beer, and cider license. All right. The committee, Warren, so the committee voted on this item, correct?
Correct.
And they voted in favor, correct? And they voted in the affirmative for it?
Kind of, Warren. Your audio's a little soft.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yes.
They vote?
That was a Verizon commercial. Yes, unanimously.
Okay. All right then. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the recommendation of the committee and approve the application for a new wine, beer, and cider license. Do I have a motion?
So made.
I have it moved by Warren Burke. Do I have a second? Call for a second. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I see Nicholas Almanor for the second. All right. Moved and seconded. Are there any questions with regards to the application, to the motion to approve? Call for a second time. Are there any questions with regards to the motion to approve?
You are going to ask, you are going to do the individual ask, correct? For people who are not an improvement of, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, yeah, well, everyone have an opportunity to vote. Everyone have an opportunity to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. I call for a third time. Are there any questions? Okay. Hearing none, we are going to call the question. All those in favor of approving the all those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
All right. Okay. Are there any board members in opposition? Please state your name for the record so the secretary can record it.
Beverly Newsom.
Okay. We have one no, Beverly Newsom. Is there anyone else in opposition? Please state your name for the record.
Yes, Suen Xiong. I'm not in opposition to the license, but I have an issue with the fact that the closing time on Saturday is 4 a.m. I don't think that we should just be blanket approving these closing times that are really not closing times. I mean, I think midnight, they have midnight for all of the other days. If that was the closing time, I would vote yes. I'm not voting yes to a 4 a.m. closing time.
Hi,
okay, so are you voting no? Well, hold on. Let's get a vote. Are you voting no or are you abstaining?
I mean, okay. I guess that's a no vote, but I wanted to explain it. You know, I just wanted to be clear. I'm not against the license, but I think 4 a.m. is ridiculous.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you. Are there any others?
I just want to answer that, Fred.
Warren, we're voting right now. So, I mean, we had the opportunity for questions. Right. So the answer is the vote right now. Are there any other no's? Okay, hearing none. Are there any members who wish to abstain from the vote? Call for a second time. Are there any abstentions?
I abstain. Was not present at the deliberation, so I abstain. Francisco Leopold.
Okay. Please note, Second Vice Chair Francisco Leopold is abstaining.
So noted.
Any other abstentions?
Is this voting for, okay, this is a new person, am I correct? I'm sorry to come in a little.
Yeah, this is for the liquor
just
license.
A winery? Okay, just a liquor license. Oh, okay. Okay.
This is, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Madam Secretary, can you confirm the vote?
Yes. Mr. Chair, majority
Yes.
is in favor, 2 oppositions, Beverly Newsom, Suki Chow, 1 abstention, Francisco Leopold. I think the vote will be carried.
Okay, the vote carries. All right, the motion carries, the application is approved. All right, thank you very much for that. Let's go back. So, Dante, do we have a final count for the elections?
We're putting the count together right now. Just confirming to ensure that no one who isn't here voted.
Okay, understood. All right, let's come back to you then. All right, there is no unfinished business. We have nothing from the table. Is there any new business for the board to consider at this time? Is there any new business?
I would like to know to what degree does CB9 play a role in the dedicated bus lane on Flatbush between Empire and Avenue V? Does that go through us in some way? The MTA is building a dedicated bus line on the curb lanes of Flatbush between Empire and Avenue V.
MTA will typically have hearings, or they'll have workshops where they engage the community. They're supposed to have that. So it would be amongst be us and every other affected community board. So CB9, 17, 14, and a couple of others going down the line. I don't believe I've heard anything about that, but that should be coming down the pipe. And once that information comes, that'll be relayed to the entire community board. But specifically, our transportation committee will probably be on top of that.
But Fred, hearings are supposed to start, if I'm not mistaken. I saw an email in July or August. It's not far away.
All right, then I stand corrected then. So yeah, that information will
send it to you.
Is it hearings or is it workshops?
No, the way I interpreted it was hearings. I'll find the email and send it to you.
Yes, send it to us, but we'll make sure we communicate that out to all the board in terms of what's being done or where the community input's happening. So we'll do that. We'll take care of that.
And, under new business as a newbie, how are committee assignments made?
Committee assignments, during the summer, you will get a questionnaire.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, Don, are you recognize something, or we have the vote?
You're breaking up a little bit. I was trying to see if there was new business. I
hear me now?
Right there. Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, so I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Fred. It's been a pleasure serving with you for so many years, and the rest of, we've created friendships here. We've created family here in Community Board 9. I'm sad to see some of the members going, even there's been some intense meetings. We've really got so much done. I just want to note something that bothers me, and I feel that since the last meeting of the year, I should say it's, Community Board 9 is supposed to really represent the diversity of the district. Community Board 9 is a very diverse district, and there are many different cultures and different groups within the district. And unfortunately, Community Board 9 no longer actively represents the district. If you look at demographics of the district and you look at the members of Community Board 9, and I think it's something that should be addressed, because in order to properly serve the community, we have to be aware of what's going on, and we have to have proper representation from all communities, represented fairly based on the demographics, and it's not the way it is today. And I don't remember on the years of the board it's ever been this way. And I just feel that it's something that we as a board should try to figure out and make sure that everybody's included.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that comment, and harkening back to Primo's comment earlier as well. It's definitely something we want to make sure we're working on in terms of the diversity. Some of the challenges are sometimes between we have to do a better job in terms of the outreach, but that's definitely the conversation we would want to start now in terms of what does the next iteration of the board look like? Where are we going? Where are we asking people whether they want to be a part? What are we doing to educate people about the board? One conversation I did have was with the Civic Engagement Unit, which is a department with the mayor's office. So that is part of it in terms of how do we do outreach and how are we contacting people in terms of bringing them in.
Mr. Chair, I'm not blaming you. This is totally on the borough president. I'm just making a point here.
Well,
this is not your fault.
No, I mean, but we'll be
You're
part of the
doing
solution.
great.
So
It's not about you.
no, but listen, there's a lot of great talent here. So it's like this is what we do. We generate those ideas and we bump them up and let's make them happen. But I do appreciate the comments. Okay, now I do see a couple of hands went up. Teresa, I know you said you had. Then we'll see Beverly, Nicholas, and then we're going to have to cut at that point. Teresa, go ahead.
Good evening, Chairperson Baptiste and fellow community board members. I'd like to put a motion on the floor to cease the use of the 1625 Seal of New York by Community Board 9 and move that we replace and adopt the Seal of Brooklyn in its place. Community Board 9 currently uses the Seal of New York City atop letterhead, emails on the website, social media, and is used on swag such as the blue bags that were handed out at the CB9 Fair in McNair Park. A time has come for a reckoning with history and to move forward. On this seal, one can be seen a fully dressed person representing the colonizers of the Netherlands and a Native American indigenous Lenape person in a loincloth. The seal also includes a beaver, a windmill, along with barrels of wheat. The fully dressed person on the left is holding a rope that is said to be a plummet. Possibly.
Right. I'm sorry, Ms. Westerdahl, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. So let's do this. If you have a motion for the board, let's put the motion forward. As the maker, you have a right to speak on that. So you'll be the first one to speak and you can give the rationale.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so your motion is?
To cease the use of the 1625.
Brad, before we make the motion, can we change the seal? Can you clarify if we could change it before we make a motion and vote? Can we do that even?
That I'm not certain. That I'm not certain, but I want to give.
Next year and we get clarity. Are you okay, well, Teresa? Do we clarify if this is even something we could do before we start voting?
Well, I've done quite a bit of research, and I do note that on the new borough president's website for community board, the seal is used repeatedly before every single community board. There's a website where that seal appears, and then the community board's information is listed, along with every single board's website for Brooklyn. So I would like to adopt that seal. It's a woman. I have a whole document configured for this. So I'm just—
Yeah, but I'm asking you if Fred could gain clarity what the process of changing the seal before we debate and have a vote, because I'm not clear on the process. And I don't want to—
Yeah, Ms. Westerdahl, if I could ask, if you could give me a chance, me and the team, an opportunity to see if we can find out what the background is. It may be something as simple as we just change it,
without even a vote.
If there's any regulations. Yeah, or I just want to see what the guidelines are. Is that okay with you? Can we check in that?
I want to change it right away. I'd like.
No, we can't do that. Mr. Chair, can you check with Khalid because it's getting late, and can you check with Khalid to see if the numbers are in, please?
From what I see, we still have the we have quorum still. We need to get that, Ms. Westerdahl. If we could do this, only because I just want to make sure that we're proceeding from the position of knowledge where we know what what we can do and what we can't do, and if we require a vote. If it's something that simple, we might be able to just do that. But I just want to make sure that all the board has the information in advance, with your permission, if that's okay. All right, but definitely this is not. We'll take it up and we'll report back to you.
Yeah, nobody else is using that seal in our borough. No community board find in the all of New York City but us. And I looked at everyone today, and I looked at every single website for every community board in our borough today and didn't see anybody else using it.
Understood. But we'll look into it, and we'll definitely make sure we get back and we'll confirm, we'll figure out the next steps. But thank you for that. Okay, hold on. Dante, well, let's do this first before we continue. Dante, do you have the results for the elections?
Yes, we do have the results of the election. Wasn't gonna let him run out of here too easy. So Khalid, please deliver us the results.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Okay, you got it. So we have collected a total of 28 responses from our present membership, and going down from the top of the executive officers list, we'll start with the chairperson coming in with 28 total responses. Fred Baptiste has secured 27 responses, receiving 96.4% of the vote. And so Fred Baptiste will be the forthcoming chairperson. Incoming first vice chairperson, Warren Burke, has received 92.9% of 28 responses and collected 26 total votes as the first vice chairperson for the forthcoming session. For second vice chairperson, Francisca Leopold has acquired 100% of the total 28 responses. She will be the second vice chairperson moving forward. For executive secretary, we have Linda Watson Lord receiving 89.3% of 28 responses for 25 total votes. Naomi Baptiste received 10.7% of responses with 3 total votes. Executive secretary goes to Linda Watson Lord for the forthcoming session. For treasurer, Christian LeBeau has received a total of 22 votes at 78.6% of the responses. Dexter Roberts has received 5 total votes at 17.9% of the total responses. Christian LeBeau receives the treasurer title for the forthcoming session. And for members at large, it was a select up to 2 candidates in total, or write in 1 candidate and select another or abstain. There were multiple of options that members had. For Nicholas Almanor, received 23 of 28 total responses, 82.1% in terms of the vote. And Carrie Elaine has received 25 total votes at 89.3% of the 28 responses. So both members have acquired a significant portion of the tallies, and they would be receiving the members at large positions for the forthcoming semester, or session, excuse me.
Okay, thank you very much for processing this. I want to thank the district office team for setting up this electrical process. The votes, again, are public record. They will be maintained by the district office for review for public inspection if requested as well, but they will be maintained. I want to thank everyone who's run. I want to thank all those who have been elected, congratulate all those who've been elected, and just looking forward to working with everyone. We have a lot of work to do. But again, I think that, what I'm proud of is this board has the talent to really move on to even higher and greater levels. Okay, I've spoken enough. Khalid, again, thank you very much. Here's what we're going to do. Is there any new business for I see Beverly, I see Mr. Almanor, I see Suki. Do you have new business, or are we here to pay tribute to Mr. Nixon?
For me, I
actually just had a comment on Teresa's proposal.
Okay, very quickly, because we want to adjourn.
This came up really in the context of the swag bag that we were looking at it at the fair and thinking, why don't we have a different bag? So if we're not talking about official correspondence, if we're just talking about the sort of CB9 branded swag, I think we do get to say what's on it, right? Because I remember in past years, like economic development was looking at a shop local bag and stuff. I mean, and we were looking at having a local person designing it and so on. So it doesn't seem like we wouldn't have the authority to pick our own design just for our own, you know, promotional stuff as opposed to official correspondence or websites or whatever.
Yeah,
but
no,
I just wanted to say like that's.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a point taken, and it's not a matter of that we're against anything. I'm just not sure that we're certain what the guidelines are, what parameters are. So it could very well be, but this is something that, you know, we'll work with the district office in terms of getting the information. We could very well have 2 or 3 logos we use depending on the situation, but that's something we just want to make sure we get clarity on for the board.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I did cease the use of that logo entirely for our community board, not just the swag. It's on everything, and I want us to not. I want us to not use it anymore.
Oh my God!
No,
it's the city. It's the city seal. So that's that.
Well, all conversations, and we'll make sure we get that information. And we'll be coming back. We'll be you know, bringing back what we find out. Okay. All right. So I do see Mr. Almanor. Well, listen, let's do this. Seeing no other new business, we're going to conclude. I want to thank everyone again for a phenomenal year. Our new members, welcome. This is an exciting time in CB9, and I think we're really looking at doing some fantastic things. Again, thank you to our district office team. They work, you know, while we're on hiatus, they keep this office afloat. They keep the district afloat. They're still engaging, and they're still doing everything, and they're still taking the complaints. Again, for the board members, we don't know what we don't know. So we count on the board members, we count on the community to let us know what's going on. So please feel free to reach out to the district office if you see something that doesn't look right, if you see things that may not look correct, if there are issues that are going on in the district, please let us know so that way we can make sure we're reaching out and touching base and engaging everyone. Everyone, please have a safe summer, have an enjoyable, restful hiatus, and looking forward to, you know, keep your eye on your emails because you're still going to be getting communications. We are going to be doing things in terms of trying to get up to speed with orientation, making sure everyone has the information they need to really be an effective board member. But otherwise, everyone take care, stay safe, and, you know, best to you and your families. At this time, now, we are, Dante, if we can, please keep the line on because I'm sure there's some people who want to say, you know, this is our really, you know, our opportunity to say, you know, to say what we have to say about Khalid. So please keep it on, and all those board members or people who would like to join in are welcome to stay on. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, Felice Robertson, make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, okay. Moved by Felice Robertson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Teresa Westerdahl. All those members of the board in favor, please say aye.
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 Sounds like a majority to me. We stand adjourned. The time is now 10:06 p.m. Everyone take care. Have a great summer. Now, let's get on this guy, Mr. Nixon.
Have a great summer, everyone. Have a great summer. Stay safe.
Oh my God, I'm gonna miss you, but I want Dante's phone number.
I
want Dante's phone number.
And I thank the whole office team is a gem, and that's why I describe it. Even though I wanted to make a point about diversity, but we'll talk about that in September.
Yes.
So I wish the best for you, Khalid, and you. I mean, it's been quite. I mean, I've seen this board before with the old district manager, and I've seen it to the new district manager. Yes. It's not ending.
Yeah, hold on one second, actually. Dante, can we stop recording, actually? Because we're